Hey guys, welcome to part 6 of What If Naruto Became Tobirama'S Legacy. If you enjoy the video then like, share and subscribe and also comment your thoughts as it inspires me to make more such videos, and remember to check out my playlist section for other interesting stories. So let's get started. Chapter 29, A Call for Help. Senju Tsunade's coronation as the Godime Hokage was an event that made the village abuzz with cheers and celebration. While the next leader of the village wasn't so enthused for the job, she managed to sell it with a heartwarming speech that everyone applauded her for. Next to her, on top of the Hokage's administration building, was the clearly relieved Hiruzen, his two advisors, Jiraiya, as well as Tsunade's two assistants and the ones who shall be her eyes and ears in the village's hospital, Shizune and Sakura. The rest of the village shinobi stood in front of the building, wearing the same white top kimono, in reference to the next Hokage. Naruto stood next to Shikamaru, Hinata, Yakumo as well as their other peers from their academy years. The elder generation were also there, including the village's Jonin, Kurenai, Asuma, Kakashi, Anko, and Yugo, amongst others. Naruto, for his part, had to give it to the village's new leader's knack for making convincing speeches, since he was perhaps one of the precious few who were privy to her doubts and insecurities in taking the job. Despite that, however, Naruto had faith that she would do an excellent job, not only because of her Sannin status, but also because of her genes, being the granddaughter of the Shodime and grandniece of the Nadime Hokage. Then, once the higher-ups began their never-ending meetings revolving around the next in line taking over, the crowd began to dissipate and two pairs of eyes looked at each other, followed by a short nod. Naruto and Kurenai had scheduled for some time together after the Hokage's event. Of course, both moved in separate directions to meet up in a more secluded location, a faraway restaurant, opposite from the village's main gate. Their little getaway wouldn't be complete without safety measures to prevent the possibility of their romance getting out in the open, in the form of hidden shadow clones around the area, in case a shinobi or a kunoichi decides on the same restaurant. Aside from their hidden relationship, they could switch into a regular meetup between former sensei and student easily enough. The only requirement was that his clones could relay the information beforehand. A week later. A week later, Guy's team had received a mission towards Grass Country in order to protect a wealthy merchant who was targeted by local militia of former missing nin from Kusagakure. Naruto replaced Neji, who had to escort Hinata and her sister towards a clan-related diplomatic event. As such, while the merchant caravan slowly advanced throughout the path that passed through the country, the team from Konoha observed from above, staying through the gigantic bamboo trees. Normally, the team would be dependent on Neji's Byakugan to perceive threats coming, but Naruto's highly sensitive sensing capabilities somewhat compensated for their lack of actual visibility. Still, Naruto had to keep extremely focused and not twitch his eyebrows every time Lee and Guy announced the flames of youth in their conversation. Tenten was the one who suggested they split up, so that Lee and Guy separated from them. Sorry about them, Naruto, it has taken a long time for Neji to get used to their mannerisms. With his eyes closed and placing two fingers on the tree log they were standing, Naruto chuckled, relieved. It's indeed a challenge to focus. Thanks for splitting us up, by the way. Don't mention it. Now, how are we doing so far? Naruto's focus allowed him to extend his reach to a considerable measure, and Grass Country's weather was quite humid, allowing his reach to go even further. Indeed, they didn't take a look upon showing up. Tsunade-sama had said that Kusagakure was informed beforehand of us being here, so these 6 presences hidden beneath this bamboo forest must be our enemies. Your pinpoint accuracy will no doubt be key here, Tenten. The weapons enthusiast smiled at that and already gathered her own arsenal of shuriken and kunai. Naruto nodded at her readiness, before turning to Guy and signaling him with what he found out, plus his plan going forward. However, both Naruto and Tenten's sweat dropped, since they could see a huge thumbs up and a bright shiny smile in response from the, let's say, exuberant Jonin sensei. I don't think I will ever get used to that, Tenten, sorry. She sighed, since the feeling was mutual. Me neither, and I have been with them for quite some time. Now, just point in their direction and leave the rest to me. Naruto nodded and then signaled for Guy and Lee to get ready in case they evaded Tenten's projectiles. Right. They are sprawled in different locations, but close by to one another in case. 3 are located 100 meters to our northeast position. Another 4 are on the ground level, waiting to ambush the caravan, and 3 others, well hidden, but not so much, a few trees above us. Tenten wasted a few seconds, pinpointing their position and already arming her projectiles. She looked as Naruto released his sword and nodded at her to start. A few steps forward, an entire rain of projectiles courtesy of Tenten broke loose, and the entire horde of missing nin had to abandon their posts and move to attack the shinobi from the leaf. Lee and Guy advanced first, with Naruto sticking close to Tenten. With long range no longer being an option, she summoned a bow staff to engage against a red-haired kunoichi. Her projectiles had made 2 victims, leaving each shinobi from the leaf to face off against 2 fighters each. Lee and Guy had made quick work with them with their iron fist taijutsu. Naruto used Hayate's techniques to deal with one and his already mastered disorienting genjutsu, followed by a kenjutsu strike. Lastly, Tenten's bow staff cracked some ribs, rendering her opponents useless. The team, then, went towards the ground and formed a square formation around the caravan to accompany it until the end of grass country, where a team of Kusa shinobi would take it from there, to escort the client throughout Earth Country. It was the deal Konoha made with Kusa, in exchange for the hidden village in the grass not making much of a fuss, since handling Kusa's missing shinobi would be up to them, even if they were somewhat allies. Being the leader of the mission, Guy had approached the client once they arrived at the border and then to the Kusa nin in charge of the mission, in order to exchange mission scrolls. Naruto, Tenten and Lee stood by, waiting for the exchange to finish, before the team returned to Konoha. Of course, Lee and Guy had suggested a race to see who would arrive first in Konoha, but both left before Naruto and Tenten would voice their denial in participating. Huh, there they go again. Naruto saw she rubbing her forehead, before the rest of the team followed towards Konoha, in a more sedate pace. Naruto at least hoped that Guy would wait for them to arrive, before reporting. In a inn near Rice Country . Just as Tsunade took over the reins of the village, she had received good intel from Jiraiya about one of Orochimaru's hidden bases, located in the border of Rice Country. Deciding to run reconnaissance, Tsunade had called for both Anko and Kurenai for an A, possibly S-ranked mission to check this base out and confirm Jiraiya's report. She called Kurenai because of her recent mission together with Naruto to act as an undercover couple. This base happened to be very close to the area, so Kurenai would be a somewhat knowing face and not alert attention from the locals. Anko was called in, of course, because of her former bond with Orochimaru, perhaps knowing the possible triggers of the base. They had one more slot available for the assignment, so Yugo was chosen. Naruto would be as well, had Guy not snatched him for a mission towards grass country in Neji's stead. The mission turned out to be a bust, as Anko had only encountered a few members of the Fuma clan, keeping guard over the base. The base was there alright, but already wiped clean when they arrived save for a Fuma clan member named Arashi, who tried attacking them with an unstable technique. The trio had quickly destroyed the base soon after leaving, so that Orochimaru never thought of using it again. So, determined for this girl trip not to be wasted, Anko had the brilliant idea of spending the night inside an inn to relax and return tomorrow. Kurenai had then suggested the one she used with Naruto for them to dress up and start the mission. The 3 women reserved one of the inn's hot springs for themselves, with a bottle of sake each. Ah! This hot water hit the spot nicely, huh? Anko stretched her arms upwards, showing some of her well-rounded breasts, while Yugo rested her head nicely and closed her eyes in deep relaxation. Kurenai tied her hair a bit to keep it above water, while massaging her arms, basking in the relaxation of the hot water. A good idea, indeed, Anko. Here I thought you'd be bummed after the mission fiasco. Anko waved her off, before swimming towards her best friend's position. Nah. I admit that I really wanted to find the bastard and give a nice punch in the face for what he did to me, but destroying that base also was quite satisfying. I was actually thinking of asking Tsunade-sama for another of these base searches, only to destroy more and more bases. Kurenai smiled and also closed her eyes in relaxation. Allowing her memory to run free. In this place, Kurenai had remembered when Naruto appeared before her, dressing like he did, back then, for their mission. She, then, blushed heavily when the image of them kissing in the bar came to mind and she opened her eyes in surprise at that, before the reddish hue appeared on her cheeks. Anko, no doubt, saw it and smirked, going in for the kill, quite soon in their nice little getaway. Oh, Nai-chan, already thinking about the blonde hunk, aren't you? How kinky of you. Kurenai looked away, briefly, before trying to come up with a save. No, it's not that, it's the hot water. Still, the blush remained as her brain betrayed her. Anko could only laugh out loud and envelop her friend's neck with a hug. Oh, quit with that adorable face of yours, already, geez. Well, since we're all here and out of possible earshot, you're still due to tell me the juicy details. Kurenai, now composed, without her brain getting in the way, crossed her arms, below her breasts, while glaring at her friend. How many times am I going to say it, Anko? I ain't telling, no matter how many times you pester me. To this day, she had never done this to any of her sexual partners, but Anko always blabbered about hers. Ah, spoilsport, come on, give us the juicy details. How long he lasted. How big is he? What positions you did, come on, anything. Kurenai released a sigh and negated Anko's attempts, before Yugo made herself known. Anko-chan, I find it strange that you view Naruto-kun as a little brother, and yet you are quite eager to ask about this sort of thing. Anko smirked as she turned to her other friend. Of course, I see him as my little brother and annoying him and Nai-chan is a good hobby of mine, but I also care for my Nai-chan and really wish for her to find satisfaction, especially under the sheets. Now, the blush resumed in Kurenai's face when Anko said under the sheets. Unconsciously crossing her legs, to keep the flow that suddenly started at the memory, or rather memories of Naruto on top of her, under her, behind her. Hell, even the time when they went to his place, after Tsunade's announcement as Hokage. Well, whatever, how about we go back to our room and order some sushi, I am starving. Anko and Kurenai both nodded as the three left the hot spring. However, Anko did not stop and Kurenai walked away from her, to protect her sanity. Okay, at least tell me if he has some quirks in the sack, Nai-chan, come on, give the girl something to work on here. With Naruto . A few days after returning from his mission with Guy's team, Naruto was left with nothing to do for the time being. Kurenai, Anko and Yugo were still due to return from their own mission. So, no dating, no pestering for a free meal and no training from them, respectively. He did hang out with Shikamaru's family for some breakfast, while waiting for Shikamaru to wake up for lunch. Dodging Yoshino Obasan's questions about his dating prospects as well as reporting to Shikaku, the village's Jonin commander, about his day-to-day activities now that he became a Jonin, Naruto bid the Nara family goodbye after chatting a bit with the grumpy son Shikamaru, who by the way was also resting after a mission of his own. After that, Naruto went to see how Yakumo was doing, when he learned that Hinata had already returned from her mission with Neji and her sister. Apparently, according to the Chunin Genjutsu user, Hinata had no recollection, whatsoever, of her behavior at the bar after Naruto's promotion. It was better this way, in the end. Not only Hiyashi-sama would castrate me, but Neji as well, no doubt about it. Right now, he had chosen a more secluded training ground to do his most secret side projects, that being Fuinjutsu and space-time ninjutsu. The two techniques from the Nadaime Hokage he was still attempting were fully embedded in his brain. At least, the theory, that is. The never-ending exploding tags was a nifty skill to possess, however its use was quite limited. If he would face an entire battalion on his own, sure, but against one or even two enemies, not so much. A conjunction of multiple exploding tags within multiple ceiling tags and Naruto has gotten himself a never-ending series of blasts, that would neutralize any number of enemies, or at least provide enough coverage for a quick escape, if needed be. Practicing this technique only once, though, has gotten him an earful from the Hokage, who had to calm down the entire village from the never-ending explosions and tremors. Now, his Mount Everest was a space-time ninjutsu. The theory was that he could, through the use of chakra and fuinjutsu formulas, transport both objects and living beings, from one point to another, by crossing dimensional voids. The Nadaime had even written his own seal design used for his Hiraishinjiri in Naruto's scroll, and after some trial and error, lots of trial and error, Naruto managed to replicate the seal formula, precisely. He even managed how to brand the seal formula using his hand. The problem remained that he was still due to move through the dimension void created by the sealing path. The scroll explained that he needed to feel his chakra mixed with the sealing formulas, so that he could mark the starting point and the finishing point. Every time he attempted, though, he would vanish from the starting point, but appear at the same point, or he would appear in another one, entirely. Plus, the uneasy feeling in his stomach after he did it. And to think Sensei did this by using a flying kunai. This was not something that Naruto could either use his bunshins to help him speed things up. He needed to understand the precise feel of his chakra in conjunction with the response from the sealing arrays. Using bunshins would only split his chakra in two and hinder his ability to perform the space-time ninjutsu. Going through the procedure, once more, Naruto closed his eyes and focused on the ram seal, while focusing on the feeling of pulling from the sealing array. As soon as he opened his eyes, and molded his chakra at the precise second, he felt himself vanishing and appearing, right in front of a rather thick rock. The only thing he could do was to turn and block his path with his right arm. He cursed in pain when he felt his right shoulder bone dislocated from the impact. Ah! Not again, damn it. One more time you attempt that stupid technique and I won't bother to fix your bones, imbecile. Naruto grunted both in pain from the shoulder and from the demonic chakra that passed through his coils towards his dislocated shoulder. I appreciate the help, nevertheless, Kyuubi, I am done for the day. Who are you trying to fool here? You're still due to summon the amphibian with the sword. Naruto never thought he would have such a nagging biju inside of him, such as the relationship constructed throughout the years. The swear words and constant insults were still there, alright, but this new side of the fox was something he didn't expect. Of course, the fox only complained when he exaggerated in his training, mission, or got hurt or exercised his coils too heavily, straining them. Right. I forgot. Damn, Gamatsurugi doesn't control his swings, so I guess I shall accept your welcomed assistance, Kyuubi. Kyuubi growled, but said nothing this time, before Naruto drew blood from his toes and performed the summoning technique. The Gamma sword user appeared within the fog with his arms crossed. Good afternoon, Naruto. Ready for today's round, I take it. Hi there, Gamatsurugi. Sure am, though if you could take it easy today, I would appreciate it. I just took a direct hit towards the rock behind me, so my body is not peachy at the moment. The toad, though, merely smiled. Of course, Naruto, I will be sure to go as easy as I can with you. The Jonin's eyes widened as a second later, the toad was next to him with his sword drawn, forcing Naruto to pump chakra in his limbs to parry the weapon with his own. For some reason, he knew, before asking, that the toad wouldn't accept his request. With Tsunade . The newly appointed Gadaime Hokage was busy smashing her nails repeatedly on top of the desk that she would face every day for the rest of her life from here on out. Hiruzen would simply chuckle in dire amusement at seeing the look of bloody murder coming from his former student, now turned village leader. Shizune, Homura and Kaharu seemed not to notice or actually didn't care, while they vomited information left and right concerning what's required of the Gadaime Hokage. Shinobi and Kunoichi records, the village's balance sheet, inter-village relations, meetings with the village clans, regular sit-downs with the fire daimyo and his other dignitaries. Oh, and let's not forget, handling the entire Shinobi and Kunoichi from this village's day-to-day. Frankly, the only living descendant of the Senju clan was already attempting to figure out how to back off from the decision she had made in accepting this mess. The worst of all was perhaps the smile of vindication in her sensei's wrinkled face. Tsunade, are you paying attention? Kaharu chastised the Gadaime and Tsunade could only hum in annoyance. Of course, I am. Get on with it, already. The elderly woman counselor snorted and went back to her list of information. Short-tempered as always, a vein popped in her forehead at the name-calling and Shizune got comically scared as the brush in her hand snapped. Turning to the former Hokage, she only had one simple question. I understand that I had already accepted it, but I don't remember ever saying yes to having these old goons around. Hiruzen once again chuckled, ignoring both Homura and Kaharu's indignant response. Hell, even Hiruzen got fed up with them from time to time and they went way back. And it's not like he would step up for both of them and risk his successor fleeing from the job in less than a month's time. You're the Hokage now. You can choose your own advisors to help you. As expected, both his advisors turned on Hiruzen and Tsunade smirked viciously. Hiruzen, what's the meaning of this? Hiruzen, for his part, simply got up and turned towards the door as his now relieved mindset emerged, certain that Konoha would be in safe hands. You know, it's been a long time since I got to see my lovely grandson, in broad daylight. My responsibilities as Hokage are hereby passed to you, Tsunade. Homura and Kaharu, you two shall have to convince her to resume your duties as advisors. No doubt, Danzo should as well. Now, take care. And with that, Hiruzen did something he never thought he would again. He used a shunshin out of his office, without a bunch of Anbu detail following him around everywhere he went. Homura and Kaharu, for their part, looked back at the smiling Tsunade and the scared out of her mind Shizune. Shizune, please call in Nara Shikaku, Aburame Shibi and Inazuka Sume. She, then, snorted and turned to the old geezers. As Godime Hokage, I appreciate all of the service you provided to Konoha. Now, it's high time you two enjoy your much-desired retirement. Homura and Kaharu looked at each other in surprise, neither believing what happened, while Tsunade sighed in dismay at the hidden giggle heard from the shadows. With kurenia . In a forest path towards Fire Country, Yugo and Anko were jumping from tree to tree. They were traveling at a sedate pace, though both couldn't help but look as the third member of their mission squad jumped ahead of them, at faster speeds. They weren't in a rush to return, as the mission didn't have a specific time schedule for them. And both Anko and Yugo were rather enjoying a few days of vacation time in the inn they were staying in. Kurenia, however, was the one who insisted that they needed to return, giving them an excuse that they needed to report on their findings to the Hokage as soon as possible. Of course, both knew the real reason for her being so anxious to return, but only Anko dared to comment on her friend's wants and needs. Wonder what's got her so adamant on returning, huh, Yugo-chan. The sword specialist snorted at that. Must you always? It's quite annoying. Anko only smirked at Yugo's complaint, though the sword user continued. It was nice staying at the inn, but we couldn't just stay there, forever, goofing off. Yeah, a vacation would be nice from time to time, but I would be going mad if I didn't have 1 or 2 torture sessions. Yugo laughed at Anko's comment. What's going on back there? Why are you two slowing down? Let's go. Kurenia yelled from up front and Anko could only smirk. Alright, already, we are coming. Geez, so anxious to get into his pants, huh? Kurenia tried denying it, but Anko only snorted as the 3 women resumed their path. With Sasuke . Hatake Kakashi was taking a nice seat on top of a tree log, enjoying a good read. It was a good day today with clear skies and few clouds. Right now, the only thing messing with his perfect reading was the damage caused to the training ground he happens to be in, while observing his 2 students, Kiba and Sasuke sparring. Well, spar wouldn't be the correct word, full-out battle would be more precise. However, just like every other time before, it was more that Kiba and Akamaru were attempting to keep up a fight and the bored Sasuke was just wiping the floor with both Kiba and the now-grown Akamaru. Well, Kiba, as many Inazuka before him, would never become a full-out shinobi, since they relied too much on their canines and had very few aces under their sleeves to use. While Sasuke could be considered the perfect overall shinobi, if it wasn't for the superiority complex he had still displayed throughout the years. Kakashi then looked up from his book as Akamaru turned into a clone of Kiba and Kiba summoned a cage bunshin. The 3 Kibas turned into a gigantic white dog that started spinning dangerously towards Sasuke. However, the Uchiha's Sharingan allowed him to anticipate the drill path and had simply evaded, before going through hand seals and unleashing a giant fireball at Kiba's Inazuka technique. The drill managed to power through Sasuke's fireball, but his intention lied elsewhere as he lifted multiple earth walls to stop the drill technique. The impact was too much and it sent both Kiba and Akamaru into unconsciousness. Kakashi then noticed Sasuke, with his standard Uchiha clothing and a Chunin vest on top of it, snorted, placed both hands in his pockets and marched towards his position. I shall return home and train, he's no match for me. The scarecrow Jonin looked at his prodigy student from the corner of his eyes and then at his other downed student and his partner K9. You could have taken it easy with your teammate, Sasuke. As I have told you before, this is not a competition. Sasuke snorted, but Kakashi wasn't finished. At the end of the day, he's your teammate and fellow Konoha shinobi. Not a foe you need to beat. Thinking like that won't ever get me anywhere near Itachi's level, so what's the point? From now on, just call me for missions. Kakashi sighed even before Sasuke vanished from this place. He just walked towards where Kiba was and gathered him and Akamaru to take them to the hospital, with the help of a Kage Bunshin. Despite both his and Naruto's seals, the vendetta that Sasuke had with Itachi was still there and would forever be there. It was something that Itachi engraved in Sasuke's brain and nothing much would take him away from that drive. Well, perhaps another one for Sasuke to measure himself against, that is. With Naruto . The next day, a perfectly rested and light Uzumaki Naruto left Kurenai's house for the morning and went for a morning practice. Kurenai had given him quite a surprise yesterday, seeing as she wasn't supposed to return for another day. Of course, he wasn't about to complain, as the hidden couple went straight to bed, even canceling dinner. After their late-night activities, both slept with a relaxed smile on their faces. Upon waking up, Naruto managed to prepare them breakfast to compensate for the lack of dinner yesterday. Kurenai had explained to him their findings, as well as her relaxing time in the hot springs with Anko and Yugo. Now, while Naruto went for his morning routine, Kurenai went straight back to her bed to take it easy, before meeting up with Hinata and Yakumo. Naruto was having such a nice day, as he walked towards one of the training grounds, when the smile left his face at another presence looking at him with his arms crossed. Hello there, Sasuke, I didn't realize this training ground was already taken. I shall find another one, see ya. Naruto turned and was about to leave. Hang on Naruto. Naruto sighed in dismay. He had a feeling that the Uchiha wouldn't let him be, considering how riled his chakra was at the moment. Let me guess, you wish to fight me, don't you? Sasuke snorted and removed the sword from his scabbard, before vanishing and placing the sword inches from Naruto's neck. Naruto saw the fully evolved Sharingan staring back at him. Why didn't you move to defend yourself? Naruto resisted the urge to roll his eyes. I was actually thinking if I should humor you or simply skip training for the day and go for some ramen. Sasuke managed to detect movement and went backward, as soon as Naruto summoned a couple of shuriken from the seal in his wrist. Sasuke's eyes widened as he spotted Naruto's chakra using a quick shunshin to appear closer to him and parried swords. The mere metal exchange pushed Sasuke backward, forcing him to focus chakra through his limbs to even the odds a bit. Sasuke's fully evolved Sharingan allowed him to be toe-to-toe with Naruto in terms of kenjutsu and agility, but Naruto's chakra sensing ability evened out the odds, keeping them in a stalemate in close combat situations. Because of this, Sasuke added genjutsu as well while fighting against Naruto. The illusion was disrupted as soon as it occurred, forcing Sasuke to add more layers to keep up the speed. Well, hidden relationship aside, Kurenai kept up with his illusion training. So, as soon as Naruto released Sasuke's illusion, which consisted of his body burning from the feet up, Naruto captured the Uchiha in a genjutsu of his own, making Sasuke believe that his body weighed twice as much. The illusion took a total of 2 seconds to be released, allowing Naruto to slam a powerful kick on Sasuke's chest, sending him flying. Sasuke flipped in midair and went through hand seals, but Naruto quickly sent a barrage of shuriken, before weaving faster hand seals. Fuden. Repusho, wind release. Gale palm technique. The shuriken all slammed into Sasuke, who turned into a mud clone. Naruto once again went through hand seals and placed both hands on the ground, before kanji spread around his position. Sasuke appeared not a second later, with his sword ready to decapitate Naruto, when Naruto's barrier technique made an effect. With Sasuke still airborne, Naruto's chest gathered enough water, while Naruto made the ram seal and released a powerful jet of water that once again sent Sasuke flying. The water hit a log of wood, before Naruto was surprised by 3 wire strands strapped to shurikens, entrapping him. Naruto saw Sasuke bite the wire strands and go through hand seals. Kaden. Ryuka no Jutsu, Fire Release. Dragon Fire Technique. From Sasuke's mouth, a torrent of flame erupted, before charging through the 3 wire strands, straight towards Naruto. The rest of the water on the field erupted as per Naruto's ninjutsu usage, surprising Sasuke as he was without his hands. Naruto's quick water wall blocked Sasuke's fire technique, creating enough smoke to hide Naruto for the time being. Thinning the water beam with the use of his mouth, Naruto cut the wire strands trapping him. He, then, went for the finishing strike, going through a long series of hand seals. Sweden. Suiryuden no Jutsu, Water Release. Water Dragon Technique. Sasuke was surprised upon looking at the water creature emerging from the smoke and was forced to jump away from the creature, but he was slammed full force. The tree behind him got the full brunt of the technique, as he landed on the small lake created by Naruto's technique. As soon as he did, Sasuke had to move quickly as Naruto skidded throughout the water to get faster and used his sword to carve a small wound on Sasuke's chest. The Uchiha felt the pain and placed his hand on the wound, looking in anger at his opponent. However, that look of anger soon morphed into sheer madness and Naruto was surprised to feel for a brief moment, Orochimaru's cursed seal activating like a light, before both his and Kakashi's seals worked to block the influence. Still, it made him worry. Yes, this is what I need. Not any of those losers I get to fight every day. Let's continue. Sasuke vanished before doing so, and this time, Naruto had to saturate the air with water elemental chakra, to hinder Sasuke's movements. The full sword close-range battle resumed and Sasuke once again felt his body getting heavy, but unlike before, this was not a genjutsu, but pure water manipulation. He could see the chakra all around the area they were in with his eyes. Tried as he might, however, he couldn't get over this hindrance, allowing Naruto to increase the beating. Seeing no easy way out, Sasuke had to resort to using science against the Uzumaki and used lightning manipulation chakra. Naruto's eyes widened as he was seeing himself trapped by multiple lightning currents, all set on frying him. Quite interesting. Sasuke. Naruto had to quickly go through a quick sequence of hand seals, burning his chakra coils at having to shift elemental natures in such a short amount of time. Of course, the fox was already bitching at him for it, but it was necessary. After a fast sequence, Naruto finished with the bird seal for a technique Asuma-sensei helped him create. Fuden. Shippu Shoheki, Wind Release. Hurricane Barrier. Sasuke looked on in surprise as the wind gathered around Naruto and formed a protective typhoon around him, ridding the area of the lightning current he created. The wind then picked up speed, as Naruto focused more chakra for the second part in this technique. Going through another series of hand seals and once again finishing with the bird sign, the typhoon expanded and expanded, until it caught the Uchiha, while spinning fast. Tried as he might, Sasuke just couldn't escape from the wind onslaught and was sent flying towards a rather thick tree, before slamming head first and going unconscious. As soon as that happened, Naruto released the technique and managed to breathe easier in relief. Sasuke had been getting better, that's for sure. Naruto feared that he would have to start using more lethal techniques to stop him. But that wasn't concerning at the moment. What mattered was to report about Sasuke's seal weakening and the prospect of Orochimaru taking over once more. At the Hokage's office. After their little spar, Naruto went straight to Tsunade's office and reported his findings to the Hokage. The office happened to be packed with Shizune, Sakura and now Tsunade's 3 advisors Inuzuka Sume, Aburame Shibi and Nara Shikaku. In the end, even with both Kakashi-sensei and my sealing, I think it's a matter of time for Orochimaru's cursed seal to influence him, and with the level he's at, it will be harder to neutralize him, without using extreme force, Tsunade-sama. The Hokage was in her seat with her arms crossed, while hearing Naruto's report on Sasuke's condition. Sakura was behind her leader and looked clearly troubled by the news her senpai gave about Sasuke's situation. She also heard from Kiba that Sasuke's mood has worsened these last few months. Oh, so the Uchiha's stick up his ass strikes again. Huh, I thought that was gone with the clan extinct. Inuzuka Sume had encountered many of the Uchiha clan in the past and failed to meet more than one that didn't fit that description. A powerful tool the Sharingan may be, but the user gets conceited with time. A true shame. Save for perhaps Uchiha Shisui, the rest was more or less the same. Aburame Shibi turned to Shikaku, who was releasing a sigh in irritation at having to deal with this mess, as well as other messes. The man was still wondering why the Hokage called him to act as her advisor, though he was glad that at least Hiruzen's elder advisors are no longer there. They were very troublesome individuals, indeed. Shikaku then turned to Naruto. Naruto-kun, can you tell precisely what triggered the change when you battled? Naruto nodded. Sasuke's lust for battle was there the entire time. The more it prolonged, the more driven he became to beat me. Usually, when I use genjutsu on him, it ends up showing him perhaps a memory of his worst nightmare. For example, in our fight at the Chunin exams, he saw his brother Itachi when I used it. So, yes, I believe the most sensitive trigger is his older brother or any mention of him, whatsoever. Tsunade hummed in acknowledgement at the report, before turning to Shizune, who was silent throughout the ordeal, just waiting for her orders. Kakashi now shall have to keep a closer eye on Sasuke than before. Please call him here, Shizune. Before Shizune moved to call in the Scarecrow Jonin, a woman from the village's cipher division opened the door to the office instantly. Hokage-sama, an urgent message from Suna. We worked diligently in deciphering it, here it is. Tsunade quickly grabbed the message and read it. Ever since Suna had invaded Konoha, Homura and Hiruzen had exchanged talks of reparation, but also in order to keep the animosity between villages more subdued, so to speak. Homura was more in favor of a tougher settlement, one that would cripple Suna for a longer time, but Hiruzen had to step in and placate his advisor, thus deciding on a more broad settlement, thus avoiding another war or desperation and securing an ally for good this time, not merely on paper. Damn, so they moved already. I actually thought it would take longer. Tsunade mumbled mostly to herself, before passing the message to her new advisors, before announcing what happened. It appears the cage was taken by Akatsuki. Everyone in the room backed away in surprise, before Tsunade closed her eyes again. Time is of the essence here. Sunagakure has called for our assistance. Shizune, call in Kakashi's and Guy's team immediately. Guy's team shall be sent later, to act as backup. This is an S-ranked mission. Naruto, Sakura and Kakashi shall go right away towards Suna. Naruto nodded, remembering how it was when he faced Kisame and Itachi 3 years ago. Now, he had to smile, since he would be measuring his capacity against them once more, it appears. It has come to his knowledge sometime in the past that Gaara, the one he faced in the Chunin exams, was appointed as cage not so long ago. Tsunade, for her part, finished explaining the mission details. It appears that the cage's brother Konkuro has been deeply poisoned and Suna is having trouble taking care of him. That's where you come in, Sakura. You are to go and aid the hospital there in curing him. Yes, Tsunade-sama. Sakura nodded with a smile. Ah, Tsunade-sama, is it wise to send in Naruto on this mission? If Akatsuki. Shizune whispered close to Tsunade's ear, before the leader negated, while eyeing the resident Jinchuriki waiting in front of them. Right now, we can't afford to run through the list and see who's available. Plus, Naruto has proven himself quite capable as one of our Jonin, not to mention Kakashi and Guy shall be with him. Suand whispered, then announced to both Naruto and Sakura. As soon as Kakashi arrives, you three shall head straight there. Oh, it just so happens that Temari, the cage's sister, has just left Konoha towards Suna. You two shall meet up with her and bring her up to speed. Crossing the desert will be much faster with her guidance. Sakura now stood next to Naruto as both nodded. The Haruno Chunin looked sideways and smiled, since this was the first time she would go on a mission with Naruto. Despite her being a more active medic nin these days, it's not like she forgot her training under him. As soon as Kakashi arrived, he was brought up to speed and the team composed of Kakashi, Naruto and Sakura left towards Suna, with Guy's team to be sent as soon as possible. Chapter 30 Gaara's Rescue Part 1. Kakashi, Naruto and Sakura were jumping from tree to tree towards Wind Country and then the hidden village in the sand. Time was of the essence as everything is regarding Akatsuki. Naruto was specially vested in this mission, considering that despite not knowing much about Gaara after their match in the Chunin exams, he is a fellow Jinchuriki. In fact, now that he broached the subject, there were 7 others just like him and Gaara out there and all of them were targets of this organization for reasons still unknown. Naruto admitted to being anxious in facing the ones he already faced from Akatsuki before, but he couldn't know whether Itachi or Kisame would appear or not. For all he knew, there were other possible opponents with different skill sets and perhaps even more dangerous to boot. Naruto. His musing was cut short, when Kakashi approached by his side to whisper, while Sakura was some steps behind. Considering who we may face against, I'm counting on you for support. The blonde Jonin smirked at his now partner in this mission, thrilled as he was to be by a Jonin's side in such a dangerous mission. You can count on me, Kakashi-sensei. The last time I faced Itachi and Kisame, they both toyed with me, but I am much stronger now than 3 years back. Kakashi nodded, knowing from Jiraiya what happened in their assignment to retrieve Tsunade. Sensei. Kakashi then turned to Sakura. I think that's Temari-san down there. It was important to get her along the way, so that they could cross the desert in record time to help the Kazekage and his brother Konkuro. Okay. Let us get this over with, so we don't waste time. Sakura went on ahead with Naruto and Kakashi behind. Temari-san. The 4-bun blonde-haired woman in question was walking in a sedate pace, wearing a full long dark blue kimono, with the giant fan strapped on her back. She turned to see 3 shinobi from Konoha. Sakura was the only one she got to meet regularly since she became an ambassador from Suna to further improve Suna-Konoha relations. The older one, Hitaki Kakashi, was better known for his legend, though Temari had never interacted much with him. Her eyes, then, met Naruto's. The one who beat her soundlessly in their one and only match-up at the Chunin exams, the one who also beat her brother, the now appointed Godime Kazekage. Back then, she was scared shitless when he all but threatened to kill her, and he would have, had the circumstances been different. She could only wonder how much stronger he had become now, 3 years later. Temari-san, we need to talk to you. Temari's eyes shifted towards Sakura, as she could see the look of worry in the Hokage's assistants. What is it? I doubt that I had left something unattended in the village that the Hokage needed to send her own assistant to get me. Not to mention, him of all people. Her eyes drifted slightly towards Naruto, who stared back at her. It's about the Kazekage. Akatsuki attacked Sunagakure and captured him. Temari's eyes widened as she heard Sakura's report. Also, it seems Konkuro, your brother, had engaged in a fight with them and was badly hurt as a result. What? Gaara was. Konkuro as well. Kakashi nodded and took a step forward. It will take about 2.5 days to get to Suna from here. Perhaps, with your assistance in crossing the desert, we can shorten our time getting there. Let us hurry. Temari nodded, before the now 4-man team jumped towards the trees. With Naruto . It was already night time when the team of Konoha plus Temari appeared jumping through trees still, reaching the border with Wind Country. Throughout the trip, Temari was feeling the pain in her chest, worried about her 2 brothers' safety. Thinking back to these last 3 years, ever since Suna's failed attempt at Konoha's invasion, her village had suffered a great deal, trying to make amends after being played by Orochimaru's dark influence. It became harder for Gaara, in particular, because he ended up suffering the consequences. Konoha's and even Wind Country's conditions were harsh. Suna's assets and revenues suffered greatly for a while and Gaara was the one taking the fall. The hatred he had received was even greater than before. It just wasn't greater than people's fear over him, though some had tried in the past to get rid of him, hoping to rid the village of the Sand Demon for good. His nomination as Kazekage was met with even more fear from those who believed he would start retaliating, but he never did. Ever since Jiraiya of the Sannin mopped the floor with him during the invasion, something had changed in her little brother. He was still introspective and fancied being alone more than anything, but at least his dark impulses were more controlled now. With him as Kazekage, Temari started to believe that things were starting to come around for him. And now this happens. She then turned to Kakashi, who was next to her, while Sakura jumped by Naruto's side. Do you know anything else besides that Gaara was taken? The Jonin leader, though, negated. Not much else, I'm afraid. The message from Sunagakure requesting aid said barely this much. Temari huffed at knowing barely anything about both of her brother's health conditions. Damn it. Gaara didn't deserve this. The blonde kunoichi was feeling the anger at this point, with her steps on the trees becoming stronger than they should. He has been dealing with the entire village's hatred for 3 whole years, taking in their hatred and criticism. He took it all in stride, without retaliating, not even when it was justified to do so. When he became the Kazekage, I thought that it would go away and he would start getting the respect he deserved. I know that Akatsuki is made of S-rank shinobi, but they couldn't get inside the village and attack him just like that. Kakashi, Naruto and Sakura knew where this was going, but stayed quiet. Inter-village relations were really not their problem to solve, but Temari was rambling right now. Whoever did it must be someone who still carries a grudge against him, those bastards. Kakashi and Sakura went quiet at Temari's rambling, but Naruto saw one too many patterns. Hatred is indeed blind, isn't it? All three looked at Naruto, who was looking forward, but his eyes clearly lacked focus right now. People look at you, but they don't see you, not really. They look at you in disdain, as if you are the sole reason for their misfortune. As if you're the sole reason why whatever bad thing happened in their lives. Then you try to look for an outlet, in order to survive, but the glares are there, still. You learn to deal with them in time, but it's difficult to let go of the past. The glares lessen in time, but you still remember them. Sakura looked at Naruto in concern, wondering about it. Then, an image appears in her brain, of herself as a child, looking at the blonde boy's back, surrounded by civilians, and even shinobi as well. Who are you to know anything about him, huh? The woman was getting mad at each and every word this asshole said about her brother. Though, she was wondering how the hell he knew so much, having only met him once and as an enemy. Naruto only chuckled at that, while Sakura looked at him in question. Kakashi understood where he came from, but couldn't really voice it out loud. I am perhaps one of the few in this world that understand him the most, even without fully knowing him at all, though it's nice to see that you care about him this much, Temari. By being with him, I mean really being with him, you perhaps managed to save him from himself. That managed to calm herself, though the inner monologue continued in her mind about her worrying about Gaara and Kankuro. Soon, Kakashi had made the decision for everyone to get some rest and resume the journey later on. At Sunagakure . 2 Chunin stood guard in front of the village's entrance, waiting for the team from Konoha to arrive. The entire hidden village was in disarray with plenty of bodies in body bags and plenty of destruction in the land to boot. The higher-ups were still cataloging the damage to the village's infrastructure as well as checking in every one of the available shinobi and kunoichi who weren't outside on missions. Pretty much everyone was accounted for, with the exception of the elite Jonin by the name of Yura. However, as of right now, there was simply no possible conclusion to be made of him missing. The sun was up strong and there were reports of sandstorms in the path, so the village was getting anxious, wondering if the help would come in time. The Chunin then caught sight of 4 people running through the sands towards the village entrance. Temari was in front of the Konoha group and greeted the Chunin in attendance with the blue bandana. We've been expecting you. Temari-san, so you're with them. The 2 Chunin in attendance started running and the team from Konoha ran along with Temari in tow. Along the way, they brought her up to speed with everything that happened. What? Kankuro was poisoned. But, how could he still be injured? We have the best poison experts to find an antidote. Naruto and Kakashi just kept on running, while Sakura paid attention to the conversation. Yeah, even Lady Chiyo is having trouble finding an antidote. Physically speaking, there are no visible injuries, but the poison is attacking his organs fast. He only has a day at most. Temari's chest started to ache at the report. Damn it, Kankuro, how could he be so stupid? The look in her eyes was telling enough. Temari-san, let's go, I can take a look at him. The blonde kunoichi looked at Sakura and then remembered that indeed Sakura is the Hokage's assistant and student, so she could help. At the hospital . It didn't take long for everyone to arrive at the treatment room where Gaara's older brother was being treated. Temari and Sakura had instantly ran to check on him, while Naruto and Kakashi stood beside the doorway. One of the members present in the room, an old lady with gray hair and wrinkled face, wearing a dark robe with white on top, took a straight look at Kakashi and saw red. Konoha no Shiroi Kiba, White Fang of the Leaf, is here. The old lady charged at both Kakashi and Naruto out of the blue, yelling that name and calling him a jerk. Kakashi, for his part, wondered what was going on. Naruto looked at the old lady charging at Kakashi and was also wondering what the hell happened that made her want to attack him out of the blue, pretty much forgetting the entire situation. It took 1 second for him to realize that Kakashi was still dumbfounded and wouldn't do anything to stop her from attacking him. With a simple whistle, Naruto focused on the ram hand sign and the simple breeze expanded to a small gust of wind that stopped the old lady in midair. Still, it wasn't enough to stop her momentum, so Naruto stood in front of her, as Chiyo released a kunai from within her robe, forcing Naruto to draw his sword and block her kunai. It took more than a simple parry to stop her, before she dashed backwards. The movement took everyone by surprise, as it happened in less than a second. Chiyo stood in her fighting pose as Naruto stood in front of the still perplexed Kakashi, who, for his part, was trying to remember ever meeting this person before. I will never forget what you did back then, White Fang. I shall avenge my son's death by defeating you today. Kakashi had enough to go on and was trying to placate the old lady's confusion. Ah no, you see. Don't bother explaining yourself. Chiyo was about to continue her assault, when a hand appeared in front of her, belonging to another old man, with long white eyebrows and a turban, wearing the same robe as her. Nisan, take a good look at him. Kakashi was smiling and showing both hands, trying to defuse the situation. He resembles him closely, but he's not the White Fang. Chiyo looked at him more closely, while the woman's brother finished it. Moreover, the White Fang died a long time ago. Remember how much you suffered, knowing that you couldn't exert your revenge. Everyone was looking at the situation at hand, with Kankuro forgotten. Chiyo had still taken a couple of seconds, before realization dawned on her and she shifted towards a completely different behavior. Well, I gotcha ya, huh, I was only pretending to be senile. Chiyo then burst out laughing and her brother looked back at her in surprise. Naruto and Kakashi had similar faces, though, wondering about that. Everyone stopped focusing on the situation when Kankuro snarled in pain. Sakura had started her own set of skills, checking on Kankuro and taking charge of everyone, while Naruto and Kakashi took a seat by the bench outside. Naruto saw her barking orders left and right to Suna's medics and smiled. She had really come a long way under Tsunade's tutelage. He could see the method she was using to extract the poison from Kankuro's organs and wondered if he could pull that one off. Placing her hand in a bucket of water, then making a bubble of water with extremely concentrated chakra control, then placing it inside his body while at the same time using medical ninjutsu to extract the poison. Kankuro struggled at the operating table, while Sakura urged everyone to hold him down, while she performed the treatment. Meanwhile, Kakashi decided to pull his favorite book for a nice read, while Naruto crossed his arms in waiting. Chiyo and her brother were sitting next to him, forming a 4-man audience to Sakura's show. With nothing to do, since this part of the mission was Sakura's doing, Naruto was left with the curiosity of what happened when they arrived. Say Kakashi-sensei. The man in question hummed in acknowledgement. Who is this White Fang she was talking about? I remember Kosuke Jichin mentioning that name, but I have never asked him before. Kakashi looked at Naruto, wondering why, how, and when Naruto met with Konoha's eternal genin, but dismissed it. He, however, noticed that the Lady Chiyo and the lady's brother were also paying attention, so he decided to humor the recently promoted Jonin, though part of him wondered if he should, considering the woman's anger. Well, let's see. Kakashi closed his book and looked upward. It's hard to say. Well, in a word, he was my father. The end result was immediate as Chiyo and her brother looked at him in surprise. Really? But why was it hard to say? Kakashi released a sigh in dismay at that. Perhaps, this is a story for another day, Naruto. Naruto looked at him in doubt, but respected the need for privacy. Both Yugo and Kurenai had expressed time and time again that Kakashi had his own demons to surpass, but he never pried. Okay. Naruto said, before he and Kakashi saw Sakura finishing the procedure and leaving with the hospital staff towards the village's garden house where Suna planted their healing herbs. She went there to make the antidote to fully heal Kankuro. With Kakashi . Kakashi then had a private conversation with Baki, while Naruto stood by, waiting for the signal to resume their mission. The silver-haired Jonin heard from the Suna Jonin that their efforts to track down Akatsuki had been non-existent thus far and that Kankuro was the only one that bolted after them. Baki had also stated that one of their Jonin leaders was missing in action and Kakashi nodded, making mental notes of Baki's demeanor while mentioning this man. He remembered Temari pissed off, days before, saying that someone must have allowed Akatsuki to barge inside the village, unannounced. It was too early to draw conclusions, but his experience told him plenty that something was off with this guy named Yura. Whatever had happened, though, this was something that pertained to Suna and Suna alone, it didn't affect his mission in the slightest. Baki-sama. One of the doctors called the Jonin and the conversation stopped. Kankuro has awoken. With that, everyone appeared by the puppeteer's bedside, while Temari was busy scolding her little brother for making them worry like that. Kakashi, then, turned to Baki, while Naruto just observed the siblings' interaction. Baki-san, please take me to the place where Kankuro battled Akatsuki. If there's one single clue or even scent, I can track either Akatsuki or the Cage. There's no need for that. Kankuro's voice groaned as he struggled to get up. My puppets have all been recovered, right? In my fight, Akasuna no Sasori mopped the floor with me. The name itself brought chills up all of the Suna nin's spines and even Kakashi, who wondered about their odds against Sasori of the Red Sand. Still, Kankuro continued. One of my puppets managed to take a piece of cloth from him. With as much strain as possible, one of the puppets' hand opened and revealed a piece of clothing. Indeed, even if you fall, you won't go down without a fight. Just what I would expect from a sand ninja. Kankuro basked in the praise, before Kakashi went through hand seals. The man's 8-dog summons got a sniff at the fabric and vanished, hoping to find the trace to get them by once more. As soon as the dogs vanished, Sakura came back with the antidote and finished Kankuro's treatment. Baki, in the meantime, offered them a place to stay and rest, to which Kakashi accepted without question. To face Akasuna no Sasori, plus another one, they would at least be well rested for that. Next day. Last night, one of Kakashi's dogs, Pakun, managed to find the trail of Sasori's clothes, going as far as to pinpoint their exact location. Right now, the very same dog was gathered together with Kakashi and Naruto in their shared room, to go over the base's location. I see, so that's their hideout, in River Country. Pakun's paw was hovering over the location, while Kakashi and Naruto nodded at one another. Most likely, there were seals covering the entrance, so I can tell you that's certainly a good percentage of certainty. Plus, I could smell the Cage's presence there, too. Kakashi hummed at Pakun's report and then closed the map of the area. Pakun, I have one more favor to ask of you. Guy's team is coming here as our support, but I believe they will perhaps reach the location earlier than us. Can you reach them and relay the information? The dog nodded and then vanished from the room, while Naruto and Kakashi finished their last preparations before heading out. Naruto took notice of the report that the base was riddled with protective sealing arrays. Now, not only is time of the essence here, but when they arrive, they would still need to be fast to get rid of the seals. Is Suna going to send someone as well, or it's going to be just us, sensei? Most likely, Temari will be joining us. I don't know if they will spare more than her, considering the state of the village right now. Naruto frowned at that, remembering Temari's outburst on the way to Suna. I would figure that the village leader being in danger would warrant more than that. Kakashi looked sideways at his companion for this mission, gauging his inner thoughts. Of course, it couldn't be helped that Naruto would draw parallels with his own situation. From what he could grasp, Despite Gaara being nominated Kazekage, Kakashi had the feeling that said nomination was more in terms with Gaara being the Yondaime Kazekage's son than out of the respect he earned from the villagers. From what Temari explained, Gaara's nomination wasn't accepted by a few factions within Sunagakure, so it stands to reason that the higher-ups wouldn't spare much assistance in helping him, despite his lineage. Naruto, on the other hand, while he may share some history with Gaara as a fellow Jinchuriki, along his shinobi career, Naruto managed to earn the respect of his peers, up to the point that people no longer remembered him as the Kyuubi's host. There's nothing we can do about that, Naruto. Our mission stands the same with one person or an entire battalion from Suna. Naruto nodded solemnly at that. Understood. We should get Sakura then and get a move on. Outside the hotel . Right now, Kakashi stood in front of Naruto and Sakura and no Suna shinobi was in sight. Kakashi was only waiting for the village's entourage to leave. Alright then, we shall leave as soon as the team from Suna arrives. We need to increase our speed, in order to reach Akatsuki's base as soon as possible. Sakura kept some soldier pills just in case, while Naruto had enough juice to spare. Right now, the Leaf Jinchuriki was extending his reach to see if Suna would provide a team to help them rescue the Kazekage. He was beginning to understand that perhaps the village didn't view their resident Kazekage in much favor, when 5 presences appeared in his radar, approaching. Sorry to keep you waiting. Temari's voice reached them, followed by a group of 4, 3 Jonin and a Chunin from the look of things. Naruto could at least smile, knowing that at least the village could spare this much to save Gaara. Well, then, with everyone here, let's head out. Kakashi announced and everyone was about to move, when Baki arrived. Hold on a minute. Temari didn't like the sound of her sensei's tone and his overall visage showed that he wasn't about to deliver good news to them. Temari, you and the others are to stay here in the village and patrol the border. Wait a minute, what's going on here? We're going to rescue the Kazekage. Baki, though, crossed his arms and negated her wish. It's an order from above. I'm afraid, if it becomes widely known that the Kazekage is absent, then there's no telling what other villages might do. In Naruto's mind, that was similar to saying that the village won't bother rescuing their leader. Kakashi was the only one who heard his snort in derision at Baki's reasoning, while Temari and other shinobi from Suna tried to argue their case. That's absurd. Konoha has come all the way here just to rescue him. How come none of us are going after him to help bring him back? Temari was the only one arguing in her brother's favor at this point, despite some of the others joining in. Before Baki could further defend the official village's position, Chio's elderly voice came from atop of the building behind them. Then I shall go with them. Since I'm retired already, the village has no say in what I do. Before everyone from Suna shouted for her not to overdo it, Chio had already jumped down and landed on the ground as if she was no older than Kakashi. It's been so long since I have seen my grandchild. After all, I believe it's time for one last reunion. Naruto's perception was that Chio, though rather skilled, didn't possess a great chakra capacity to last long in a fight against S-rank shinobi. However, he could perceive how controlled and at ease her chakra output is. She had excellent chakra control at the very least. From what he could tell, she was a puppeteer, just like Konkuro, so her real shinobi skill lay in whatever puppet she had under her belt. The same with Akatsuki's member Sasori, it seems. Temari really wished to keep on arguing, but she couldn't go against the village's orders. Moments later, the team from Konoha plus Chio were outside the village gates, with Temari and Baki to send them away to rescue someone that was Suna's one and only responsibility to rescue. We shall head out, then. Kakashi announced, earning a nod from Baki, who promised he would try to convince the village to send reinforcements as soon as possible. They were about to head out, when Temari called to Naruto. Uzumaki Naruto. The entire platoon stopped to hear the blonde kunoichi speak. Naruto turned to see her. Their conversation from the other day was still fresh in her mind, about how people viewed her brother in Suna and how his description was right on the money. Even now, she wanted to prove him wrong. However, with Suna's higher-ups' decision being public, it became clear that, indeed, there was still a lot of ground left to cover. And despite Naruto never openly saying, Temari had the feeling that he was speaking from experience. Yes, Temari-san. Temari was struggling to find the right words here, but telling the truth to herself, she was relieved to see that Konoha had sent someone who understood her brother and would be personally invested in rescuing him. I know that for Konoha, this is only another mission and you don't have any obligation to truly rescue him, but please bring him back to Suna. I won't stop until I can gather enough men to follow you, but please, do your best in bringing him back. Kakashi and Sakura both smiled at the pleading and both were sure that Naruto felt the same if the smile on his face was any indication. We shall do everything in our power to rescue him, Temari-san, count on us. Naruto's words were truly empathic as he could feel how distraught she was for her brother's safety. With those parting words, the group from Konoha plus Chio started running towards Akatsuki's base. In river country . Crossing the desert in record time with Chio's help, the team from Konoha had reached river country and began the forest track of their journey. Right now, Chio was hanging in the back, with Naruto and Sakura in the middle and Kakashi up front. However, something caught up with Sakura as she remembered what Naruto said to Temari on their way towards Suna. How? Naruto managed to know the Kazekage even without actually knowing him prior. Yes, they had fought against one another at the Chunin exams and Naruto was clearly up for victory, had the invasion not occurred. However, that was the one and only time they have seen one another. There was no possible way Naruto could understand someone like that, unless Naruto knew firsthand and from experience the type of treatment a Jinchuriki suffered. Looking at him, through the corner of her eyes, she could see something different from before. The entire time they trained together, Naruto's eyes had this light blue shade like a calm ocean and he always had this relaxed expression on his face. Right now, though, his eyes had a darker shade of blue and he was looking forward, completely driven, as if nothing else mattered than fulfilling it to the maximum. She wondered if this was how he always behaved in mission mode or if this was something personal to him. Plus, she wanted to get to know more about this Akatsuki. If they are targeting people like the Kazekage and Naruto, then it's for something big. Naruto-senpai. Quite to her wonderings, Naruto blinked a couple of times and turned to her. Can I ask you something? Naruto nodded and then she continued. Is this the first time you're facing this Akatsuki? Naruto negated. No, the first time I ran into them was 3 years ago, when I was on a mission with Hinata and Jiraiya to find Tsunade-sama. They merely toyed with me the entire time and would have captured me if Hinata hadn't reached out to Jiraiya in time. Kakashi just kept on listening, while keeping on their path forward. The members were Uchiha Itachi and Hoshigaki Kisame from the Seven Swordsmen of the Mist. Sakura gasped at the revelation of Sasuke's brother Itachi being one of the members, though Naruto continued. Why do you ask, Sakura? Ah, it just seems strange that they would resume only now. I mean, why the long wait? Naruto thought about the question. I don't know, actually, and I don't think even Jiraiya knows at this point. Kakashi concurred with Naruto's statement, adding his own theories. The why is indeed a mystery thus far, Sakura. It could be that it's not because they didn't want to, but because they couldn't. Indeed, Chio's voice echoed in the clearing and the three looked back to see her. In order to extract the tailed beast that's sealed in a person, there is a lot of preparation involved beforehand. Quite likely, now that they captured the Kazekage, it means that they have surpassed whatever barrier to that and are extracting the Biju right now. Chio's explanation was calm and collective, while some could detect a complete lack of attachment in her tone, as if whatever happened in the end wasn't her problem to solve. Which means, we can't waste any more time, so let's speed things up and reach the base before it's too late. Kakashi surmised, earning a nod from everyone as they increased the speed. Neither of them noticed a strange plant growing amidst one of the trees in the area, before a strange humanoid figure appeared inside it, half white and half black. Soon, they reached a clearing and started running. The base was nearby right now and Kakashi hoped that Guy's team would have reached the target before them. Kakashi's eyes widened, however, when he saw a man in front of them, wearing Akatsuki clothes. The clothes may be new, but Kakashi could spot the two Sharingan eyes as clear as day. Urging his team to halt for now, Kakashi considered the odds of running into Itachi right now. The timing could not have been any worse. Despite this being 4-1, this was Uchiha Itachi they were talking about. Naruto cursed the man's timing as well, though his perception already told him that something was different from the first time he saw the elder Uchiha. It's been a long time, hasn't it, Kakashi-san? Naruto-kun. Naruto took a step forward and stood next to Kakashi as he observed the Uchiha Itachi in front of him. Naruto. Kakashi looked at his fellow Jonin in a silent question, since he knew Naruto to be a censor amongst all else. Ah, he feels different than last time we met. His chakra output is considerably lower than before. The Scarecrow Jonin paid more rapid attention after Naruto's report, while Naruto now extended the conversation with Itachi. Indeed, it's been a while, Itachi. I don't suppose you'd let us pass and rescue the Kazekage, right? We are on the clock here. Itachi only snorted at that. You sound a lot more confident than last time, that's for sure. Itachi closed his eyes and then focused enough chakra on his eyes to land a powerful genjutsu on Naruto, which was dismissed faster than Itachi realized. Oh, you have improved as well, interesting. Naruto could see a taunt, a provocation. He could also see some patterns that Itachi and Sasuke shared, their overconfidence in the Sharingan. Yeah, well, I had a good teacher in the genjutsu department, plus I had a good sparring partner when it comes to Sharingan genjutsu, Itachi. The elder Uchiha said nothing, though the reference was quite obvious. Naruto. I shall be his main opponent, like we said before, cover my guard. Naruto looked sideways and released his sword, before getting into position. Kakashi charged chakra in his legs and dashed, initiating the attack, with Naruto following close by. Sakura and Chio remained on the back, in case they needed assistance. As soon as Kakashi stood within striking distance, he aimed a punch that Itachi caught easily, while a bunch of Itachi advanced towards Naruto. Naruto had barely seen a kunai appear beneath Itachi's robe and moved quickly to parry it with his sword. While Naruto and the Bunshin danced in a shower of sparks, Itachi was attempting to catch Naruto in a genjutsu every time, which was dispelled. Different from Sasuke, however, it seemed that Itachi favored the illusion strategy more than regular ninjutsu. Still, as this was merely a Bunshin, Naruto eventually got the upper hand and used his expertise, a genjutsu-oriented kenjutsu, and Itachi's clone vanished. The real Itachi was still in front of Kakashi, but had to evade, once he saw a barrage of shuriken coming his way from Naruto. He created enough distance to take a good look at the Jinchuriki. Your kenjutsu style looks quite polished, Naruto-kun, dare I say, I have seen it before. Naruto knew that Itachi was an Anbu before defecting, and he could have seen Yugo-sensei or even Hayate fighting. I bet you do with that Sharingan of yours. Naruto said as he stood next to Kakashi. Sakura stood next to Chio flabbergasted. She had known all along that Naruto was stronger and more skilled than their peers, but she had never seen him move this fast before. Itachi didn't waste much time and went through hand seals. Kaden Gukaku no Jutsu, fire style. Grand fireball technique. Naruto finished his own set, as soon as Itachi finished his technique, before molding the water around him. Suiden Sujinheki, water style. Water encampment wall technique. Kakashi had already moved as soon as Naruto's water technique blocked Itachi's, but the elder Uchiha had seen Kakashi's movements and moved accordingly, placing himself right in front of Kakashi and landing a fierce kick on his torso. Kakashi felt the pain immediately, but still flipped in midair, while Naruto charged with his sword and the ram sign on his other free hand. Itachi was about to move to intercept, but he found his body getting rigid and heavier than he normally would. The conclusion lasted about a tenth of a second, but Itachi just had to smile at being caught in a genjutsu. That was indeed a first. Releasing it as easily as breathing, Naruto was right in front of him and they parried kunai and swords. Only this time, Itachi felt the same difficulty in moving. Though, this wasn't genjutsu anymore. His Sharingan managed to look around and spotted the color of water chakra in the atmosphere. Interesting. Such prowess with water ninjutsu, Naruto-kun. I bet that Kisame would have loved having another fight with you. The mention of Itachi's partner brought him back to that time when Naruto's ass was handed to him. Naruto, steer clear of him. Kakashi yelled, as he went through hand seals. He also saw the same thing as Itachi, as he focused lightning chakra on his hands. Reikiri, lightning blade. Naruto did as instructed and Itachi was bombarded with Kakashi's lightning attack added by the water laced in the atmosphere. Itachi, though, managed to use a quick kawarimi and appeared right behind Naruto's defense. His sensor capabilities alerted him in time to also use a water kawarimi, when Itachi pierced his back with a kunai. Sakura took that opportunity to throw a barrage of shuriken at Itachi, who evaded it easily and threw a fireball technique at her. Sakura was also quick on her feet and slammed a fist on the ground, using earth ninjutsu to lift a wall in front of her. Itachi then saw Naruto appear in front of him, ready to skewer him with his sword, when Itachi grabbed his wrist and held him tight, before placing Naruto's eyes close to his. Naruto realized the trap when he was snared in a powerful genjutsu. Naruto would remove the first layer of illusion easily, but Itachi would then place 2 and 3 layers, forcing Naruto to be trapped under the Uchiha's world. Kurenai had taught him to evade double-layered genjutsu, but a triple-layered one was news to him. The problem was that Naruto had too much chakra to stop and release the flow every time and Itachi managed to capture him in yet another genjutsu. It soon became obvious that only using his chakra, he would be forever trapped. Itachi's hold on him was much stronger. Itachi then realized when the malevolent chakra of the fox surged through Naruto's tenketsu and kicked him out rather forcefully, ridding the illusion for good. Though, back in the real world, Naruto was on the ground panting for breath, while looking at the Uchiha in front of him. Kakashi was by his side immediately, while observing in surprise to see Itachi's eyes bulge in red veins and bleeding. Quite ingenious of you to use the fox's chakra and overcome my genjutsu, Naruto-kun, though I have to applaud your overall skill in the art of illusion as well. Despite searching for breath, Naruto couldn't help but bask at the praise. Kakashi helps Naruto to stand up and Itachi was focusing on them the entire time, hence why the man didn't move in time to stop Sakura from running behind him, pouring as much chakra control as possible in her fist. As soon as Itachi turned to land eyes on Sakura, despite his tiredness, it was too late and Sakura slammed a powerful fist straight at his face, breaking Itachi's jaw and sending him flying, before his body slammed on the ground. Naruto and Kakashi looked surprised to see Sakura's bold move, but it paid fruit, in the end. The group approached the downed Uchiha as Chiyo looked at Sakura in surprise. Back then, when she healed Kankuro from Sasori's toxin, Chiyo was looking at her with interest. Now, the comparison was complete. That strength. So you're indeed the slug woman's apprentice. Sakura had adjusted her gloves and smirked in confidence, while Kakashi and Naruto smiled at the medic nin. What the, yeah, now I knew why he felt different. Naruto's words made everyone alert to look at another shinobi lying on the ground, beaten from Sakura's mighty punch. Is this some sort of jutsu, Kakashi-sensei? The scarecrow Jonin was truly astonished. He knew from Naruto that Itachi felt weaker, but all of his moves were Itachi's, no doubt about that. So, who is this person that appeared? It can't be. Everyone turned to Chiyo who was looking at the downed man with familiarity. Do you know him? The old woman nodded at Kakashi's inquiry. He's Yura, one of our Jonin and member of the village's high council for 4 years now. Kakashi remembered Baki saying this name, who was amongst the missing personnel in Suna. Can't believe he would be a spy for Akatsuki. Chiyo then grabbed an empty scroll to write a message back to Suna, informing them of what happened thus far. Meanwhile, the rest started debating amongst themselves what this was all about. A stall tactic, most likely, but it also served to gather information on their overall skills and opposition. Chiyo, then, summoned a toy bird that would send the message back to Suna. We need to get a move on, everyone. Once we reach enough distance, we need to rest up for the main fight. Naruto felt down at that, despite it being the best decision. He had a genjutsu battle with Itachi, the Uchiha Itachi, one that perhaps not even Kurchan could defeat. If Naruto were alone against him, he doubted that he would be able to survive long enough. He needed an edge against the superior genjutsu user. He needed to finish his space-time ninjutsu in no time, but the focus right now was to rescue Gaara quickly. So, With that plan in motion, they all set out once more. In front of Akatsuki's base . It took another half a day to reach the base's location, and when Kakashi's team arrived, they all saw Guy's team observing the rock in front of them. "Oh Kakashi, you sure took your sweet time coming here," Guy boasted, already focusing on his rival, while Naruto and Sakura greeted Lee, Tenten and Neji. Sakura, for her turn, introduced Chio to the rest of them, before everyone focused on the rock. "I have already tried to punch through it, but there is a barrier in place, Kakashi." The scarecrow Jonin nodded at Guy's words. Naruto, for his part, turned to Neji. "Can you see inside, Neji?" The Hyuga Jonin nodded and ignited his Byakugan, before describing the scene. There is a gigantic statue inside and Gaara appears to be hovering in midair, enveloped by a huge cloud of chakra. That was alarming news as Chio concluded it. "They are still extracting the Biju, then." Kakashi nodded and then turned to Naruto, who was looking at the seal in the middle of the boulder. "That's a 5-barrier seal." Kakashi nodded, figuring that it wouldn't be this easy to get inside and rescue the cage before the procedure is finished. Still, Naruto got into lecture mode, recognizing the barrier seal. "This is the main one and there are 4 other seals placed in different directions. Normally to remove this barrier, one must remove all 5 seals at once." Guy, Lee, Tenten, Sakura, Chio and Kakashi looked pensive at the explanation, wondering about their next possible decision-making. Tenten then remembered Naruto's words. "Naruto, you said, normally." Both Kakashi and Chio looked at the blonde shinobi, who was pensive, while working on his theory. "The 5-seal barrier can only be put in place by one person or one chakra signature to be precise. It's not merely placing the seals in different directions, but also linking one another, through the use of Fuinjutsu formula added by an identical chakra output. Whoever did this must be able to multiply himself through the use of several bunchins. To remove it, it would need to be done at the same time, and also to install it, would require the same thing. My theory, however, is that with this being the main seal, I could override the chakra that activated the seal formula and nullify the 5-seal barrier, by focusing on this one." Kakashi's eyes widened. He remembered seeing Naruto doing the same high-level sealing technique as he did with Sasuke's cursed seal, but if he were to make this happen, then Kakashi could seriously be seeing his sensei in front of him once more. Chio, on the other hand, was a Fuinjutsu user herself and wasn't much impressed with Naruto's theory, while the rest were busy just working through the theory in their minds and failing miserably. "That's a nice theory, Gaki, but to make that happen, you'd need someone with a huge chakra capacity just to try and overload the sealing array." Naruto looked at the elder Suna puppeteer and smirked at her. "It should have been clear at this point. I guess I can give it a try, then. It won't hurt our chances here, and if I am wrong, then we can do it the old-fashioned way." Naruto turned to Kakashi, as if asking for his permission. The silver-haired Jonin at least reasoned that with the fox and the right knowledge, Naruto could seriously accomplish such a task. "Get at it, Naruto. Neji, in the meantime, please use your Byakugan and locate the other 4 seals." Naruto and Neji went to work immediately, with Naruto jumping on top of the rock close to the seal, while Neji activated his Byakugan to search. Naruto placed his hand on the seal and closed his eyes in order to study the Fuinjutsu formula that the members of the Akatsuki used. Extending his chakra through it, he could feel the repulsion running its course. As per his theory, the seal glowed red, yanking Naruto's head by force. Still, Naruto had enough time to see the kanji in his head and the necessary sequence. The ones from Konoha and even Chio observed Naruto in great detail, wondering what he was going to do. Everyone flinched as soon as the spike in malevolent energy reached their position as Naruto's once blue eyes turned into blood-slitted red eyes. Using the seal as the basis, Naruto's chakra focused on a single point in the seal formula, before he began to overload the seal formula with his own energy added by the fox. He then went through a long series of hand seals, while pumping enough chakra to make an S-rank ninjutsu. Fu and Kai, seal release. The peculiar noise of seal disruption was heard by all as Naruto, then, looked at Sakura. The medic nin didn't need to be told twice as she took her own distance and charged straight at the rock with her super-powered fist, smashing the rock to pieces. As soon as Sakura smashed the rock, everyone got inside and saw the procedure taking place. Naruto, though, didn't wait for the exchange of pleasantries and immediately sent a Kage Bunshin to yank Gaara out of the chakra cocoon. Well, it seems they were somehow able to get over the ceiling array I had put in place. Deidara, Sasori, the procedure was incomplete. Get rid of the intruders and secure the Jinchuriki's body. The astral projections on each of the creature's fingers vanished, with the exception of the real perpetrators of Gaara's kidnapping. Well, more people for me to show my art to, Sasori Dana. The one named Deidara had the rock insignia on his forehead protector and had blonde hair, though his identity remained a mystery to everyone. Sasori, for his part, was actually a grotesque figure, hunched down in height and had a scorpion-like tail coming out from its back. A black cloth covered the figure's face as its eyes focused exclusively on Chio. Right now, 2 4-man teams against 2 S-ranked criminals, as Naruto's clone held Gaara's unconscious body protectively. Chapter 31 Gaara's Rescue Part 2. Once Naruto's clone yanked the Kage's body away, the strange skeleton figure left the cave as well as the astral projections of the members, leaving only Deidara and Sasori there to face off against 2 teams of Konoha shinobi plus Chio. Still, despite the odds not in their favor, Deidara was enjoying their odds here, especially since one of the Konoha shinobi happens to be the Kyuubi Jinchuriki. Well, more people for me to show my art to, Sasori Dana. The man in question hummed in recognition, while turning his eyes briefly to his partner. In the end, more bodies for me to add to my collection. Aside from that, however, we still have to recover the Kage's body. Deidara kept on smirking at that, however, while focusing on the Kyuubi Jinchuriki's clone holding their prized target. The Konoha shinobi, meanwhile, were having a discussion of their own, regarding their next possible moves right now. Despite having the numbers advantage, those 2 were still S-rank shinobi, which meant that said advantage could be short-lived quite fast. Not to mention that from the 9 fighters in Konoha's disposal, 4 of them were Chunin. Kakashi, how do you want to play this? The scarecrow Jonin saw Guy looking at him and pondered for a while. So far, their mission appeared to be secured, but not at the same time. Taking Gaara back to Suna was paramount, but at the same time, if he didn't play his cards right, then Akatsuki could recapture him, not to mention the possibility of getting his comrades killed in the process. Guy, we need to take the Kage back to Suna. Can your team protect the clone along the way? The other Jonin nodded with a thumbs up and a full-out smile, already understanding his partner's trail of thought. Kakashi, then, turned to Naruto. Your clone must carry Gaara back to Suna, Naruto. Guy's team shall accompany your clone and protect him. Naruto accepted the directive and eyed the clone, who nodded and bolted away from the cave, together with Guy's team. Deidara anticipated the move, however, and much to everyone's surprise, called upon a white bird and flew towards the cave entrance, making Naruto's clone as well as Guy's team turn in surprise. Kakashi moved in tandem, hurling a couple of shurikens straight at Deidara's flight path and seeing the bird make evasive actions, while continuing in hot pursuit. The scarecrow Jonin realized that he would need to follow as well to secure the safety of Kage's body. While Guy's team had enough experience in that front, Akatsuki could still lurk outside and the one carrying Gaara was just a Kage Bunshin. I am afraid I shall have to leave you 3 to handle him. Naruto, the real one, nodded along with Sakura, while Chio observed Kakashi leave. Seemingly ignoring Naruto and Sakura's presence, the Akatsuki member turned to Chio and asked her. I heard you had retired long ago. Naruto and Sakura eyed each other and then at Chio, who only smiled at the pondering. Call me sentimental, but I suddenly got the craving to see my grandson's face again. Sakura and Naruto, then, received the full blast of an S-rank shinobi's killing intent, while Sakura started to sweat, feeling the strain of being a target. She could feel the precise difference between herself and this foe, was quite different from the feeling she had of Itachi's presence moments before coming here. Looking at the focused Naruto next to her, she wondered how she would fare, being in his position, hunted by not 1, but 9 of these monster-like shinobi. The weight of this battle began to pressure her and her throat became dry. Do not fear, girl. She turned to see Chiyo begin to walk. I shall face him. You two stay back. Sakura looked at Chiyo's back in question, before turning to Naruto. What should we do? Naruto's focus was on Sasori the entire time. However, as he extended his chakra perception towards the enemy, Naruto could sense a major chakra power source, though it surprised him to realize that he couldn't feel Sasori's chakra running along the tenketsu like a regular shinobi. No, it was focused in one region only, though he couldn't quite perceive where it comes from. The presence in front of them couldn't be human in his mind. There was simply no chakra running through it, for log's sake. He turned when Sakura pondered aloud, making him think for a while. For now, we can act as Chiyo's support, Sakura, and observe his movements. Sakura wondered about that as Naruto continued. I can't get a proper feel of his chakra from here. Perhaps, the real enemy is still hiding. Sakura understood Naruto's train of thought. A puppet user rarely reveals himself right away. Naruto nodded with a smile as he observed Chiyo's movements as well. Chiyo had then placed both hands inside her robes and pulled a chakra string carrying a sequence of kunai. Each kunai was then attached to Chiyo's chakra as the projectiles hovered in midair, before traveling towards Sasori at high velocity. Sasori's iron tail blocked all of the kunai, but each weapon appeared to have a mind of their own and attacked once more, this time managing to carve Sasori's Akatsuki robe off, entirely. When the enemy's body was revealed, Naruto and Sakura narrowed their eyes at the sight of the enemy's body, or rather, what was perceived as a puppet's body with different appendages in its legs, arms and entire body. If you're going to defy me, Chiyo Basama, then I have no choice. You all shall be nothing more than additions to my collection. Chiyo just narrowed her eyes at her grandson's open defiance. With Kakashi and Naruto's clone . As soon as the rest of the crew left the cave, with Naruto's clone carrying the unconscious Kage, Kakashi and Guy's team had begun a new mission of escorting the acid. Their new assignment was to escort Naruto's clone while the clone carried Gaara all the way towards Sunagakure, where he could be better treated. Naruto could attest to the chakra, or rather lack of, that he was feeling from the fellow Jinchuriki. Naruto snarled at wondering what would be of Gaara if they had arrived later than they did. The feeling of the beast's chakra is also at its bare minimum, which worried him. To realize that Akatsuki had this power in their hands to extract the beast from within the Jinchuriki was staggering. How is he? Kakashi approached the clone while they exited the cave, heading towards Suna. Deidara was still hovering over them, observing them in the meantime. Guy's team was forming a protective position around Kakashi and Naruto. I can barely feel his chakra. He's in critical levels, sensei. Kakashi nodded and then turned to Guy, who was closer to him. Guy, we need to run faster towards Suna. He needs medical attention as soon as possible. The normally exuberant Taijutsu Jonin at least accepted the severity of the situation. Neji, we need your Byakugan to warn us ahead of time, when he attacks. The Byakugan user nodded and activated the dojutsu. As soon as he did so, the Byakugan picked up on a torpedo-like projectile accelerating toward them and Neji could pick up on the amount of chakra laced in this specific projectile. Everyone, disperse now. Everyone attended quickly to Neji's warning as soon as Deidara's bomb smashed on the hill in front of them, forcing them to take different directions as the land trembled and the fire erupted uncontrollably. Deidara merely smirked from atop the sky. He was caring less and less for everyone's safety and both Jinchuriki were tough enough to survive whatever it is that he could send, until the organization could extract the beast from within. From the ground, everyone was looking upward in quiet surprise at the level of destruction. Still, the mission itself has not changed its parameters, so they kept on running towards Suna. Soon, everyone reached a narrow passageway in between mountains with a small river passing below. The narrow passageway had many tree logs uniting it. Deidara kept on sending its bombs against them, but the tree logs were sturdy enough to protect them. The mad bomber merely smirked at that and this time, changed strategies, going from big to small blasts. Neji's Byakugan had alerted them of the change as he saw clay spiders falling from the sky. The clay spiders moved fast towards them and Tenten began her expertise of sending kunai strapped with exploding tags to blast the spiders. The little buggers, however, had a life of their own and evaded the kunai as well as the blasts. Both Lee and Guy had taijutsu up in spades, but both lacked excellent chakra-like capabilities, forcing Neji to use his prowess in the Juken to rid the clay spiders of its small chakra capacity, thus rendering some of the spiders useless. Still, Neji was just one and Deidara sent more than enough spiders to bomb them all into smithereens. The Naruto clone observed this and looked at Kakashi, who nodded, apparently understanding his strategy. Juggling Gaara's body, the clone managed to summon another clone, who joined closer to Neji and went through hand seals. Sweetened Sujinheki, water release. Water encampment wall technique. Neji saw pillars of water emerging from the river below them as soon as the spiders blasted close to their location, protecting them from the explosions. Neji had been witness to his fellow young Jonin's expertise in water ninjutsu to the point that Naruto needed very little hand signs to perform high-level techniques. Still, everyone knew that the enemy had the high ground right now, so none of them could afford much breathing room right now. Their apprehension got even worse as soon as they left the canyon with the tree logs and reached the mainland to run across the rest of river country, towards wind country. Deidara had blasted them once more with big bombs, forcing them all to take evasive actions. This time, however, Lee and Tenten didn't leave unscathed, forcing Neji and Guy to protect them, while Kakashi remained with the first clone, carrying Gaara. The second Naruto clone moved in between Guy's team and shifted elemental strategy. As soon as the bombs came their way, he would use wind ninjutsu to change the bomb's direction. Doing so, the blast shifted directions, keeping the team protected. Tenten, Lee, are you okay? The two shinobi from Guy's team nodded, despite the pain, while running. I'll live, thank you Naruto. The clone nodded and then turned to Guy and Neji, both nodding at him. The second Naruto clone then decided to summon 4 more clones, knowing that he wouldn't have much more to spare. Summoning 3 more clones, while Guy's team observed, the 4 Naruto clones formed a protective square around Guy's team, while going through hand seals. Kekai Hojin, barrier method formation. As soon as the clones finished the hand seal sequence, 4 lines united the clones, drawing a specific barrier as a protection barrier for Guy's team. The blast smashed at the barrier, but Guy's team saw it blasting on top of them, leaving them unscathed. Nice one Naruto-kun. Your flames of youth burn bright. Lee was overwhelmed as he observed his senior in command in action. I hate to interrupt you Lee, but I won't be able to keep the barrier for long, let's go. Tenten and Neji both chuckled at the explanation given by the clones as Neji's Byakugan could very well see that the clones had enough chakra to last quite a while. Still, the huge blasts and earthquakes just kept on coming, while the mission to take Gaara back to Suna was a go. With Naruto . Chio was standing close to Naruto and Sakura as she eyed the puppet body in front of her. Seeing this puppet brought her back to the time where her grandson was still a shinobi from Suna. So, what's the plan here? The elder Kunoichi turned to Naruto and then to the puppet in front of her. The puppet is named Hirako. I know it from back when Sasori was still a shinobi from Suna, though, he had clearly made improvements to it. He is hidden inside the puppet, so we need to destroy that puppet. Sounds simple enough. I take it that you now wish for us to take part in the fight. Chio snorted at those who weren't accustomed to fighting against a puppet user. To destroy it, one must have destructive capabilities, which I lack, but Sakura has Princess Tsunade's abilities. We need to get close to him and destroy it, but we need to look out for the hidden weapon mechanisms. One mere scratch from his weapons and you won't live much longer. Sakura closed her fists, getting ready for her part. Naruto, in the meantime, focused on the enemy, still radiating enough killing intent. Itachi never displayed emotion and Naruto was never able to make a read of the elder Uchiha's intentions. Kisame had his maniac glint in his eyes and wanted nothing but to cause pain on him for the fun of it. Sasori, however, was different, the desire he could perceive of a mass murderer. He had never felt such a dangerous vibe from someone other than the fox. You 3 shall be members of my collection soon enough. The way he said it brought chills up their spines. Do you know how I make my collection? First, I pull out the organs, then, after I wash the body nice and clean, I extract the blood. Once I've prepared the body, so it won't decay. Afterward, I fill the body with hidden weapons and then, only then, it becomes a complete addition to my puppet collection. And after adding you 3 to my collection, I shall have exactly 301 puppets in my collection. It's my art. Art. Sakura's outburst was well reasoned. If possible, this person had lost all possible reasoning and was only interested in killing. That art of his was when he was still a Suna shinobi, but that's in the past right now. Listen. Sasori saw as Chiyo gathered with Sakura to explain her planning, while Naruto observed their opponent. Soon, the man who hates to be kept waiting and hates to keep others waiting got his reward as he saw Chiyo and Sakura running side by side towards him. Naruto then ran in a similar path, though opening up a flank of attack. The puppet then released the cloth from its mouth and it opened, before endless metal Senbon flew towards Sakura and Chiyo. Normally at such projectile speed, it would be incredibly hard to evade, not to mention keep on advancing. Sasori certainly was counting on Chiyo being able to evade, but certainly not the girl next to her. He then focused on the Jinchuriki, who released his sword and blocked the most dangerous ones, while using his agility, together with the afterimage ability of Yugo and Hayate. Sasori couldn't focus on all 3 at the same time, so he stopped focusing on Naruto and bombarded Sakura and Chiyo once more, but at the same time, both girls managed to evade most of the projectiles. Naruto would release a bunch of shuriken and kunai, but all of his projectiles were blocked by Hiruko's metal tail. Soon the ground became filled with projectiles of all shapes and sizes as the battle of long range continued. Naruto saw Sakura's movement mirroring Chiyo's and smirked, seeing the elder Kunoichi's hidden plan. Sasori's rain of projectiles stopped as its mouth hung open, while wondering how they managed to see it through. Naruto then looked in surprise as a hidden gauntlet left Hiruko's arm like a rocket, before spinning madly and sending small wooden sticks all around the cave. The sticks, much to everyone's surprise, would open up and reveal even more Senbon. Chiyo and Sakura managed to evade easily enough, but their plan didn't account for him, meaning Naruto was by himself. As such, he went through hand seals and then swung his sword. Futen Shippu Shoheki, Wind Release. Hurricane Barrier. Each of the projectiles that threatened Naruto's position would be sliced in half as soon as it reached the hurricane that formed around him. While Naruto used ninjutsu to save his hide, Sakura and Chiyo were just easily evading as if they were taking a nice stroll. Sakura's morale was gaining enough points as she perceived the projectiles passing by her, without posing as much a threat. Once the projectile rain stopped, Sakura then ran towards Hiruko with a kunai in hand, throwing it at him. Naruto had also completed the rain of projectiles of his own, adding the repusho to carry more punch. Still, that alone was not enough as Hiruko's tail blocked all of their attacks, before aiming it straight at the running Sakura, certain that he would skewer her. It came as a surprise when the tail stopped just inches from Sakura's face, before Chiyo screamed for her to go ahead and smash Hiruko to pieces. Naruto saw her fist glowing in blue chakra, before the puppet was smashed into small pieces by her strength. Chiyo and Naruto saw what appeared to be a man hidden beneath a black cape, leaving Hiruko's debris and creating some distance from them. So, you finally come out, huh? Chiyo's condescending tone towards her grandson spoke volumes as the human being got up from the ground, with his back facing the Suna Konoha trio. I've come this far just to see my grandson's face. Naruto soon stood next to Sakura, as he eyed the opposition, the real opposition this time. He could feel the chakra output more clearly now, but he still couldn't perceive precisely where it came from. Sasori for his part kept looking at his hand for a while, before flexing all of his fingers to control Hiruko's head that was still in one piece. Making it hover in midair, the head started spinning and sent more projectile rain towards Sakura, forcing Chiyo to reveal what she was doing, by moving Sakura out of the way, using her chakra threads. As I thought, came a more human-type voice instead of the raspy one that came from within Hiruko. Just what I would expect from my granny. No wonder this little girl was able to dodge my hidden weapons. Also, it appears that you had used the chakra threads on Hiruko's tail as well. Though when you did that, I wonder, was it when you sent the flying kunai at the beginning? Naruto paid rapid attention to the opponent's degree of perception. He managed to pick up on Chiyo's usage of chakra threads, because he knew the plan beforehand. Sasori, however, managed to pick it up in the midst of the fight, seeing the chakra threads both from Sakura and the metal tail as well. This guy had chakra sensitivity in spades and in AS rank level fight no less. Oh, I had suppressed my chakra as much as possible so as not to be seen, and yet you still figured it out. I'm impressed. Chiyo said that with a knowing smirk, with a hint of pride, despite it all. But of course, after all, the one who hammered the principles of puppetry into me was none other than you. Sasori's words followed by him removing the cloth that covered his face. This little gathering of ours, though, shall be its last. As soon as he removed the hood, Chiyo's eyes widened as well as Naruto's and Sakura's. With Kakashi and Naruto's clone . Naruto's clone and Kakashi were still running with Guy's unconscious corpse, with Guy's team for protection. The other clones had taken the blast from Deidara's bombs and vanished. The only clone that remained was the one carrying Gaara, and Kakashi urged him not to summon any more clones, for fear of running out of chakra. As such, the Scarecrow Jonin had taken up the duty of protecting Naruto, leaving Guy's team unattended. Tenten was running out of her arsenal at this point and the taijutsu fighters were quite fatigued at this point. Neji was the only one redirecting the bombings with his Juken and even the occasional Kaden in midair to block the blasts. Deidara was merely having fun airborne as he fired clay bomb after clay bomb at them. Still, the mad bomber realized that they would be reaching Sunagakure soon, hence why he needed to take things up a notch. Grabbing more clay from his pouch, Deidara summoned a pack of wolves made of clay to chase after the enemies. Neji stood by, waiting for the new creatures to appear, facing it head on, but the pack of wolves had simply passed by him and kept on running towards Kakashi. Guy and Lee looked at one another and both ran faster to smash them to pieces, however the wolves outran them. Kakashi turned when Guy screamed at him to watch out, before seeing the pack of clay wolves coming their way. With his Sharingan activated and surging lighting chakra through his right hand, the Scarecrow Jonin used his Raikiri to slash the wolves in half. However, he could only deal with 3 of them, thus allowing the other 3 to pass by and go for Naruto's clone. The clone saw the wolves approach his position, before Deidara made the ram sign for all 3 to explode at the same time. Kakashi kept on running and soon reached the position of the blast. Naruto. The fire caused by the blast kept on growing and Kakashi became worried that the clone had vanished and Gaara's body would be too injured. A blast of water erupted from within the fire and Naruto's clone was still holding Gaara. Let's go, sensei. We don't have time to waste. Kakashi breathed a little easier and nodded as he followed the clone forward. Guy's team was about to follow, when a creature emerged from the ground, a gigantic Venus flytrap from the looks of things, dressed in Akatsuki robes. Guy. Kakashi screamed while running. Go on, Kakashi, we can handle this. Get the cage to Suna at once. Kakashi didn't like the current situation. The real Naruto and Sakura were battling Sasori and now Team Guy had to face another of Akatsuki by themselves. However, saving the cage was the mission right now. With Naruto . Back at the cave, Chiyo looked on in surprise at her grandson's face. She was expecting a much more senior face looking back at her, not the same face she last remembered him by. How is this possible? Chiyo murmured, while Sakura looked at the old kunoichi and then at Naruto who was focusing on the enemy. Is he, Sasori? Naruto looked at Sakura and lifted his shoulder, just as surprised. What's going on here? Chiyo, though, was still murmuring uncontrollably, baffled at what she was seeing before her, while Sasori just kept his arrogant smirk. He's just as he was before. He hadn't aged one bit. How? Sasori, though, just kept on grinning. What's wrong, Granny? Are you so filled with emotion that you cannot speak? Chiyo was indeed speechless, so he continued. It's our first reunion in over 20 years. Sasori, Chiyo was struggling to come to terms with the truth. She knew perfectly well the reason, though she was struggling to understand why. Well, allow me to show you something special. Sasori said as a scroll slipped within his robe sleeve. It's guaranteed to move you. Sasori then slowly opened the scroll, revealing the number 3 kanji written in it, before releasing the new puppet. And yet again, Chiyo's eyes widened. If possible, her grandson had reached impossible levels of treason towards the very village he was born in. Chiyo Basama, what's wrong? Sakura screamed back, still seeing Chiyo's catatonic expression. That's the Sandaime Kazekage. Naruto and Sakura looked at one another in surprise, before they focused on the new puppet in front of them. Sasori had fallen into position with the Kazekage's puppet positioned close to Sasori's shoulder. Now, then, I believe this squabble has taken long enough. You're lucky Jinchuriki that I need to capture you alive, but I don't have to worry about Granny Chiyo and you, little girl. Naruto narrowed his eyes and stood close to Sakura's position. If you think I will simply stand by and wait, you're sadly mistaken. Sasori only smiled at the bravado coming from a mere kid. It matters little what you do, the outcome will be the same. Now, let us proceed. All 10 fingers of Sasori showed his chakra threads and the Sandaime Kazekage flew towards Sakura at high speeds. Chiyo had pulled Sakura backwards in order to protect her, but Sasori had merely smiled and closed his hand as a new gauntlet of multiple blades emerged from within the Kazekage's sleeve, ready to skewer Sakura in half. Chiyo had positioned Hiroko's iron tail and blocked the Kazekage's attack, when Naruto attacked the Kazekage's flank. Fuden K's no Yaiba, wind release. Blade of wind. The multiple transparent blades of wind traveled fast and precisely towards the Kazekage puppet, though Sasori was experienced enough in the technique to know how to evade it. Still, Naruto was not done and kept sending multiple blades of wind towards the Kazekage's puppet. Sasori was observing the precise wind application, understanding that he couldn't underestimate the Jinchuriki, based on his knowledge in wind ninjutsu. His interest was piqued as the Sandaime Kazekage's puppet didn't come out unscathed from the technique, showing multiple slashes in the puppet's corpse. You're not all talk, it seems, though that won't be enough, Jinchuriki. Sasori then moved his right hand. The Sandaime Kazekage's other arm came out from within the sleeve and extended towards Sakura this time. After extending a bit, from the arm, multiple contraptions opened up, showing seal designs. From within the sealing technique, multiple puppet arms surged, until it formed a gigantic and unified beam that traveled quickly towards Sakura. With a mere flick of his wrist, Sasori then commanded the multiple hands and arms beam to descend upon Sakura and would have skewered her, had Chiyo not yanked her away. However, Chiyo found that Sakura wasn't moving, despite her efforts to pull her away. Sasori merely smirked as he finished his combo with a mere flick of his middle finger, before a couple of pipes appeared from the hands and arms beam, sending a cloud of poison straight at the trapped Sakura. Sakura! Chiyo screamed in fright, seeing as one mere breath of that cloud and Sakura would be killed instantly. Fuden Daitapa, wind release. Great breakthrough. Fuden K's no Yaiba, wind release. Blades of wind. Naruto unleashed a strong blast of wind that blasted the smoke away, followed by the wind slice technique that cut the rope trapping Sakura, before taking her close to Chiyo. The pink-haired Chunin was closing her eyes and trying her best not to breathe, when she felt her body being yanked away. Are you alright, Sakura? When Sakura opened her eyes, she was on the ground being attended to by Naruto. Naruto. Yes, I'm okay. Sasori, though, didn't allow them breathing room as he moved his right thumb and 6 kunai cannons emerged from the hands and arms beam, sending a barrage of kunai towards Naruto and Sakura. Naruto and Sakura were caught by surprise and Naruto summoned his ninjutsu to block, but Chiyo moved faster, summoning 2 puppets of her own to block the 6 kunai. It isn't nice to attack a lady while she's down, Sasori, that's not very chivalrous of you. Now, I trust you know who they are, right? Sasori, though, was unimpressed with the showing, despite who these puppets reminded him of. Oh, those 2. I fail to see why you summoned the very puppets I made in the first place. Chiyo urged Naruto and Sakura to stand down for now as she urged the puppets to join hands, before metal wires could be seen as the hands separated. Chiyo's puppets then flew fast towards the hands and arms beam from the Sandaime Kazekage, slashing the united beam in equal parts. Sasori then released the arm which summoned the other arms, before a spinning chainsaw appeared in the Kazekage's right arm. Chiyo's 2 puppets then revealed their respective weapons of similar metal quality. Sasori and Chio's hands became a blur as they controlled their respective puppets in a battle royale that surprised Naruto and Sakura. Eventually, the puppets' blades were all wasted and shattered. This is getting messy, Sasori said as he eyed the rest of the debris on the ground. I better hurry up and use this, then. He then made the dog hand sign and from the cage's mouth, came out what appeared to be black sand. So, that puppet uses the third cage's jutsu. This is troubling. What's that, Chio-Basama? Sakura asked as she saw the troubled look on her face. That was Suna's most feared weapon at the time of the Sandame cage, the iron sand. With her experience, Chio had come to terms with the fact that this fight would be incredibly tough, but right now, seeing the famous iron sand being used against her, she considered their odds of survival as dismal at best. With Kakashi and Naruto's clone . Hatake Kakashi looked at the clone carrying Gaara's unconscious body and realized that the clone's chakra supply was coming to an end soon. Deidara's bombs were still descending madly and he couldn't count on Naruto's clone using any more chakra than he already had used, hence why Kakashi was right now doing all the work of keeping Deidara's bombs away from them, focusing on projectiles and lightning chakra in brief intervals. The Mad Bomber didn't appear to switch tactics for now, which was a blessing. Of course, Deidara had spent 3 days worth of chakra attempting to remove Ikibi from Gaara, hence why he couldn't afford to use his most destructive techniques right now. Still, it was still dangerous to keep him upward and Kakashi needed to keep Naruto's clone as much as possible, to allow them to reach Suna in safety. He didn't know how Guy's team was faring against the unknown Akatsuki member, but right now, he needed to have faith that the taijutsu beast would be able to keep his team together. Kakashi-sensei, we can't go on like this. I don't know how much longer I can sustain myself. The original had given me plenty, but I had used quite a lot of chakra right now. The senior Jonin nodded as he looked upwards to pinpoint Deidara's position. I know. We need to take him out. However, I don't believe you have anything under your sleeve to attack him from long range. The clone negated Kakashi's presumption. Actually, I have, but not with the overall chakra I have left. The Sharingan wielder knew never to presume anything regarding Uzumaki Naruto, especially considering how much he had improved in the ninja department. Well, call me curious, Naruto-kun, but now is not the time for show and tell, perhaps later. I happen to have something, but I would need some time for that. In the meantime, we will need to evade the blasts with nothing but our evasion tactics. The clone looked as Kakashi then made a different hand seal, while positioning both hands close to his Sharingan eye. Now, I am the one who's curious, but I don't think evasion alone will help us, so it would help plenty if you didn't take too long to do what you're planning to do. Kakashi snorted at the slight jab right in the middle of a S-ranked mission no less. Nowadays, even without the fox, Naruto was already a chakra monster to the extent that no one in Konoha could compare with him in terms of overall capacity. Hell, his Kage Bunshin alone possessed more chakra than Kakashi. Not everyone is a chakra monster like you, Naruto-kun, but I will try to leap up to your lofty standards. Naruto was about to comment further, but he couldn't as another batch of bombings smashed on the ground close to them. Forcing chakra on the soles of their feet was the most they could do right now, but Naruto could at least saturate the air with water chakra, for when the situation requires desperate measures. Also, running through the desert was quite challenging, requiring them to modulate the amount of chakra so as not to make a wrong step. Kakashi ended up taking close to 5 minutes focusing on this new technique of his, and Deidara had even used his batch of spider bombings, which forced the two Jonin to evade them using high-speed movements in tandem. Still, as Kakashi removed the hand seal, Naruto was surprised to see the different design of Kakashi's Sharingan. What the hell? Kakashi turned to look at the flabbergasted Naruto clone. Yeah, this is an evolved version of the Sharingan, Naruto. Now, could you keep him occupied while I focus a bit more? Naruto, if possible, was even more curious, wondering about the accursed dojutsu, however now wasn't the time. With a simple flick of the wrist, Naruto shifted Gaara's body in between his arms, while throwing shuriken and kunai after Deidara. The Mad Bomber, for his turn, had simply snorted at the pathetic attempt and evaded the slow-pacing projectiles that came his way. However, His long-seeing device managed to check on Kakashi and gasped at the sight of the man's different Sharingan pattern. Mangekyo Sharingan. But I thought only Itachi had it. Back on the ground, Kakashi's now evolved Sharingan focused on Deidara's position and began his Supreme Eye technique. For a couple of seconds, nothing happened. However, Deidara was then surprised when an air vortex opened close to his position, sucking him into it, somehow. He had never seen such a technique. Certainly Itachi had never shown this to him. His movements became hindered by the vortex and even the clay bird was having trouble flying away from the extreme force. Naruto merely observed transfixed at the technique, while the veins in Kakashi's eyes were quite evident, such as the strain in keeping this technique activated for long. The Mad Bomber fought against the vortex as best as he could, but he couldn't escape. At first, the center was focused on his stomach and it would rip him apart for sure if he allowed it. Grunting in extreme effort, Deidara released the rest of the chakra he had to control the bird away from Kakashi's technique. All of his efforts, however, only allowed the center of the vortex to leave his stomach and land on his right arm. The Iwa Nuke Nin screamed in pain as Kakashi's vortex technique managed to yank off his right arm and send it somewhere else. Kakashi cursed the pain in his eyes and had to shut it off immediately, however he turned to Naruto, who nodded and summoned a kunai with a sealing tag strapped to it. He then gave the kunai to Kakashi, who looked at it strangely. Could you throw it at him with all your strength, sensei? Kakashi looked at it some more. He was expecting a different tag attached to the kunai. Why is there a sealing tag in this kunai as opposed to an exploding tag, Naruto? The clone smirked in soon-to-be glee as he urged the senior shinobi one more time. You shall see, but can you please throw it while he's distracted? Kakashi was still doubtful, but he acquiesced to the request and sent it flying straight towards the still-in-pain Deidara. Gojo Kibaku Fuda, mutually multiplying exploding tags. As soon as Deidara saw the flying kunai inches from his position, Naruto used the ram sign to release the never-ending explosive tags within never-ending sealing tags. Kakashi's eyes widened as he saw exploding tags come out of the original sealing tag, then new sealing tags coming out as well with even more exploding tags, causing a never-ending cacophony of explosions in the air, as if they were celebrating the new year. Deidara was sent flying, courtesy of perhaps his own medicine, which was all the more nerve-wracking. Naruto's clone and Kakashi stopped running to see the end result of Naruto's technique and Kakashi could only ask one thing from the Prodigy Fuinjutsu user, still trying to understand just where he came up with these new techniques. Nicely done. Though, I think you could lead with that next time, Naruto-kun. The clone shrugged it off, though. It takes me close to a week just to make one of those, sensei, it's a one-off type of move. With the number of sealing tags and exploding tags, it's no wonder, but then Naruto's clone moped, while completing the explanation. Not to mention the fact that I had to blow an entire B-ranked mission salary with ink and paper for that. It was worth it, though. Kakashi's sweat dropped at the info, but then he remembered Minato-sensei complaining about that as well, on occasions. I take it this was what you're referring to early on, then. Ah. No. Kakashi by this point covered his Sharingan eye and replied with a nostalgic chuckle. Right then. Let's get going. I believe Suna is now close by. At Sunagakure . The Suna guards, one Chunin and one Jonin, who were stationed at the only passageway separating the desert from the village looked on in the horizon as they saw two silhouettes running towards their position. It took a couple of seconds for the guards to realize in surprise to see the Konoha shinobi carrying Kazekage-sama's body. The Jonin turned to the Chunin with a set of urgent orders. Hurry! Call Temari-sama and Kankuro-sama here immediately. The Chunin left immediately to retrieve the Kazekage's siblings. When Temari and Kankuro appeared by the passageway, Naruto and Kakashi arrived. Gaara. Is he okay? Gaara. Answer me, please. Temari was shaking her brother, but to no avail, she then turned to Kakashi and Naruto. Temari-san. He was barely alive and chakra depleted when we found him, he must be treated right away. The blonde Jonin didn't need to be told twice and urged the locals to take him immediately to the hospital. She then turned to Naruto with a smile. Uzumaki Naruto. You have fulfilled your promise, thank you. Naruto's clone nodded with one final phrase before vanishing. I will be sure to pass the message along. Tamari, the woman, was surprised to see Naruto vanishing and then turned to Kakashi. That was his cage Bunshin. Now, with the cage safe and sound in Suna, I have to go back and assist the others. Tamari once more appreciated Konoha's assistance and followed after the medics that would treat Gaara. Kakashi, then, went through hand seals after biting his thumb and placed his hand on the ground. Pakun soon appeared and took a seat in front of its summoner. What do you need, Kakashi? I need to return to that cave you found earlier, Pakun, but I need to rest a bit and you can get there faster. Once you get there, use the reverse summoning right away. The pug Ninken saluted the order and immediately ran, while Kakashi took a soldier pill. He now needed to conserve as much chakra as possible, while waiting for the pull, confident that Naruto, Sakura and Chio would be able to hold things off in the meantime. Chapter 32 Gaara's Rescue Part 3. Naruto, Chio and Sakura observed as the so-called iron sand came out of the Sandame cage puppet's mouth. Did you say iron sand? Naruto turned to Chio and the old woman nodded, observing the cloud of black dust gathering above the puppet. The third cage had a Kekkei Genkei of magnet release. As such, he managed to create the jutsu of iron sand, mimicking the last Shukaku user. He could shape the sand in whichever weapon he so chose. But this is no longer the real cage, right? How could he use the third's technique? Chio turned to Sakura's question. It's the way a human puppet is created, Sakura. Instead of the regular puppets we use, Sasori creates the human puppet, while the living human's chakra is still embodied, thus retaining the human's previous skills and in this case, the third cage's magnet release and his iron sand. Naruto and Sakura looked at the cloud of dust now hovering over the puppet, while Sasori retained his smug appearance. Once the cage puppet is used, there is no way he could lose his fight. Especially with the hidden skills he hid in the cage's body. This is getting tougher from here on out. Naruto, Sakura, Chio maintained her focus on the mother and father puppets, while Naruto extended his chakra sensory perception. He could have a better feel for Sasori's chakra, but it's still hidden. He stood in position as he sensed the molding of chakra, just before Sasori got into position. Take this, Satetsu Shigur. Iron sand. Scattered showers. The cloud of iron sand turned to small chunks of rock, before all of them traveled at high velocities, forcing the joint Suna Konoha division to evade. However, the attack was so fast that Sakura couldn't hope to dodge, forcing Chio to use one of the puppets to take her out of the way, while the other used a chakra shield to block the incoming projectiles. Naruto, for his part, used a quick wind ninjutsu to divert the incoming path of iron sand projectiles coming his way. The projectiles were like machine guns and they filled the wall behind them with holes. Naruto turned back to Chio and Sakura, before seeing Sakura being safely carried by the puppet. Once he realized that all of them were okay, he advanced and attacked the cage's puppet using his agility and kenjutsu. Oborozukyo, Hazy Moon Night. Sasori, at first, thought nothing of the attack, but then his eyes saw the afterimage of Naruto's movements, before he was face to face with the cage's puppet. Naruto was about to decapitate the puppet, when his sword met up with a sword of iron sand. Immediately backing away from the puppet, Sasori merely smirked at the attempt. I do remember Chio saying about magnet release, Jinchuriki, that means to say that anything made of metal is ill-advised against the cage. Naruto saw the iron sand sprawled all over his sword. I see. Well, it's the first time I have faced a magnet release user, so I guess Yugo Sensei's techniques are a no-go. Naruto stood in front of Chio and Sakura as the sand user saw the iron sand also crawling through the father puppet's joints. Chio was about to move the puppet once more, when she felt resistance through her chakra thread. Also, Chio Basama, I sprawled iron sand through your puppet's joints, thus making them useless now. You should have known that you have to dodge a magnet attack, instead of block it. Now, let's proceed, shall we? All three shinobi looked as the iron sand gathered once more, this time forming giant-sized spikes hovering up in the air above all three of them. I bet that the Jinchuriki and Chio can block it, but the little girl can't. So, who will save her at the expense of her own life, I wonder? As soon as he said so, Sasori dropped his hand used to control the puppet, releasing the spikes to travel down the ground. He even added the magnetic ability of the cage to accelerate the spikes. Naruto saw Chio move to once again protect Sakura with the only puppet who didn't have the iron sand. Anticipating it, he had summoned two Kage Bunshin to appear in front of Chio and Sakura, before all three, original and the two clones, went through hand seals. Futen Shippu Shoheki, Wind Style, Hurricane Barrier. All three hurricane barriers managed to divert the giant spikes from skewering them all. Taking advantage of the debris and the amount of water inside the cave, the original Naruto went through another set of hand seals. Suiden Suiryuden no Jutsu, Water Style, Water Dragon Technique. Sasori observed the Water Dragon Technique surge towards the cage puppet and maneuvered the iron sand to block the attack. Though it didn't seem to do much and Sasori merely observed Naruto. So, water attacks don't do much against it as well, huh? Pity. Sasori merely chuckled, while looking at his so-called opponents. This has taken on long enough. Prepare yourselves. Chio, Sakura and Naruto observed as the iron sand structures got bigger, way bigger spikes and pillars even. Nothing can beat that, unless blunt old physical attacks. Naruto, Sakura, you two need to get away from here now. The two Konoha ninja looked at one another, before Sakura turned to Naruto. Senpai, I don't think I can move just like you two, but I believe I can hit those iron sand pillars. Naruto nodded, remembering who took over Sakura's training after he did. He also had something to use as well. I do, too, Sakura, but we have to take into account your limited movement. Sakura looked pensive at that, before turning to Chio. I think I may have something. Senpai, hold on. Naruto looked as Sakura stood in front of the Suna puppet user. Chio Basama, please use me as your puppet. Both Chio and Naruto widened their eyes at Sakura's idea. Naruto Senpai's sword, his ninjutsu techniques and your puppets has shown that his iron sand works against most attacks, but it can't block against physical attacks. Plain old taijutsu here must be the key to beat that iron sand of his. Chio looked pensive, until Sakura concluded. Like my sensei, I have guts. Chio Basama, let's go. Naruto smirked at that, knowing that Sakura had indeed taken to Tsunade-sama's teachings. Chio had remembered seeing Sakura healing Kankuro back in Suna and remembering that Princess Tsunade is her sensei. Okay Sakura. I shall aid you, but what about Naruto? Chio turned to the Jinchuriki who was focused on the enemy as well, when he saw Chio's focus on him. Don't worry, I have something to use as well. Just keep on taking her out of harm's way and we shall do the rest. Sasori just watched the two Konoha shinobi running towards the cage puppet. Sasori just tisked as he maneuvered the iron sand pillars and spikes to skewer both the girl and the Jinchuriki. While Sakura managed to evade, with Chio's help, Naruto had his chakra sensory ability and his overall agility to work around. The sand pillars attempted to smash Sakura to pieces, but Chio yanked her out of the way, seconds before it hit the ground. Naruto, then, charged a Rasengan, spiraling sphere, in his right hand and slammed it at the spikes that threatened to pierce his guts, sending it flying towards the surprised Sasori, who had to jump towards the wall to escape. Sakura then charged pure chakra in her fists to smash the sand pillar, forcing Sasori to once again use evasion to escape. Soon, it became a dance of sorts. Sasori would try to hit either Sakura or Naruto with the iron sand structures, only for them to use heavy force techniques to send it right back, towards the enemy puppeteer. The cave began to tremble as the pillars and spikes lodged either on the cave ceiling or the cave walls, some even escaping the cave confines. Chio would just look puzzled at these two Konoha shinobi. She had enough experience to know about the Yondaime Hokage's famous Rasengan being used by Naruto. Also, she was bearing witness to Princess Tsunade's apprentice not only using her super strength technique, but also learning Sasori's attacking patterns. So much so, that she wasn't even controlling the girl's movements anymore, just observing as these two youngsters were going toe-to-toe with Suna's worst criminal, aka, her grandson. Sakura, for her part, observed her senpai next to her. She wasn't so surprised that he would show such awesome skills. No, she was feeling the excitement of fighting next to her senpai. Ever since they first started training together, this was what she envisioned as her lifelong dream. To be able to fight alongside him. Tsunade and Shizune have been great teachers in the medical ninjutsu department, but it was Naruto who first came and brought her up to speed, so that her tutoring with the Hokage bore the most fruit. Sasori had a flat line in his mouth as he observed his opponents handling the iron sand. It was certainly not something he pictured happening in this fight. His grandmother, sure, but not those two. Going for more lethal combinations, the spikes turned into a top that would spin madly out of control, forcing Sakura and Naruto to evade the attack, before Sakura punched it with enough chakra that sent it straight at the Sandaime cage. Sasori, for his part, figured that enough was enough with these two. Once again, lifting iron sand towards the now open cave, Naruto and Sakura looked troubled as they saw the iron sand spring out a web of sorts, spreading throughout the entire cave. Sakura, at first, looked troubled at what she could do, but then an idea sprung to mind, before she turned to Naruto. Senpai, stand close to me, fast. Naruto looked at his student and nodded, while Sasori smirked and released the newly formed spikes from his technique. Sakura worked fast in going through hand seals, before slamming her fist on the ground. Doden Doryuheki, Earth Style Wall. The rock from Sakura's fist molded into a cocoon of sorts, forming a protective rock barrier enveloping Naruto and Sakura. As soon as the rock barrier finished, the iron sand pillars smashed through it, trembling the cave under them. The rock barrier kept on steady and Sakura focused enough chakra on the technique to keep it steady. However, it wasn't enough to stop the spikes completely and some of it pierced through, cutting both Naruto and Sakura's arms a bit. Sakura had enough knowledge on poison to realize that both of them were hit with Sasori's poison. Senpai, that sand of his is poisoned. Naruto snarled at feeling the pain in his body increase and his limbs go numb. Sakura felt it also, but she looked at her senpai first to see how he was doing. Damn it, we got careless, Sakura. The medic nin looked to see if he would be alright, despite knowing about its effects. Alright. Allow me a couple of seconds, are you alright? Sakura looked at him in surprise. Ah, I had administered an antidote just seconds ago, but how are you holding it in? Naruto chuckled a bit, while focusing on the fox's chakra to kill all the toxins in his bloodstream. Well, it's not the first time I have to face someone who favors poison, though, I don't know if that's cheating. Sakura was able to sense the spike in Naruto's chakra, even though she wasn't entirely sure what he was doing. You mentioned an antidote. Sakura looked startled at the question, but then showed the empty serum. Sakura's technique was still active and this happened to be the one and only occasion where they had the time to converse. Oh yes, Suna happened to have quite an array of available herbs available. I was able to synthesize Sasori's toxin and come up with a suitable antidote. Naruto looked at her in surprise and Sakura looked back. What is it? No, it's quite surprising to see you go, Sakura. I mean, it's been 2 or 3 years since Tsunade-sama has taken you under her wing. It's quite astounding to see your growth, really. Sakura blushed at the compliment. She didn't have much words on the outside but her inner self was pumping up a fist and accepting the accolades, dully. Naruto then kneeled on the ground and placed his fingers on the ground to feel the fight still going on between Chio and Sasori. We need to deal with that cage puppet, if we wish to leave this cave alive, Sakura. Naruto was coming up with something, though he wasn't entirely sure it would work. Do you have a plan, senpai? Naruto turned pensive at that. I may have something, but it may be too risky. Sakura urged him to speak his mind. Sakura then heard his plan. Once Naruto told her, she took a couple seconds to ponder upon it. Alright then, let's go with that. Naruto looked at his comrade in surprise. Sakura, though, only smirked in complete confidence at the plan. Once the rock barrier fell to the ground, Sasori and Chio stopped fighting and saw only Sakura on the ground, lying unconscious. Naruto was nowhere to be seen and Chio's eyes had literally left its sockets in surprise and dread. Sasori, for his turn, just smirked proudly. He saw the little girl lying down on the ground, with her arms clearly pierced by his iron sand. Clearly, his poison had already spread through her bloodstream and would soon do its work. He just didn't want to waste this opportunity to kill this girl for sure and be done with it. As such, he commanded the cage puppet to travel straight towards Sakura's position to deliver the killing blow with a hidden sword in the puppet's right arm. Chiyo screamed for Sakura to get away. The cage puppet soon reached Sakura's position, and at that moment, Sasori realized that something was wrong. He felt his chakra being invaded by an unknown entity, but it was so swift, so subtle. The cage puppet soon slammed the sword through Sakura's chest. But no blood came out. However, that image soon changed to the sword piercing the ground meters away from Sakura's position. Sasori looked in surprise as Sakura lifted from the ground and prepared her super energy fist. Take this, you bastard, Shanaru. It all took less than 2 seconds and Sasori stood there puzzled to see the girl smashing the cage puppet to shreds with her super fist, turning the cage puppet to mere pieces. As soon as that happened, the Jinchuriki appeared out of the blue, looking no worse for wear with a smile on his face. No, actually, he had a proud smile in his mind as he remembered the amount of time he practiced this technique with his lover. Naruto then approached Sasori, while Chiyo and Sakura looked at both of them in complete wonder. With Guy's team . As soon as the fight began, the melee fighters of Guy's team were confronted by tree branches that erupted from the ground. Negis's Byakugan caught on that and screamed for everyone to evade, but the tree branches would emerge one by one and target each of the members individually. Tenten had summoned 2 swords, one in each hand, to slice the tree branches, but while she managed to slice them, more would come, forcing her to use evasion techniques once more. Neji's Byakugan was working profusely in studying the enemy's technique. He could see the tree branches coming from below ground and strangely so, being linked to the enemy, who had simply stood there, not doing anything. Neji, talk to me, what can you see? Guy and Lee were using their strong fist technique to blast the tree branches, but like Tenten, the tree branches just didn't stop coming. He is controlling those tree branches, from the looks of things. These trees are linked to him, Guy-sensei. Though, I am detecting the joint usage of water and earth chakra as well. The leader Jonin looked at his Byakugan subordinate in surprise. Don't tell me. Guy looked at the enemy with narrowed eyebrows. Guy-sensei, what's wrong? Guy turned pensive, not answering Lee's question right away, while breaking the tree branches with their fists. Neji, are you certain he's joining the elements? Neji nodded, also reaching the same conclusion as Guy's. Akeke Genkai. Then, but not any one, an ability that our esteemed Shodaime Hokage possessed, Mokuden. Lee and Tenten all responded in surprise at the information. Mokuden. How the hell can we deal with this, Guy-sensei? Guy hummed at Tenten's rant, as her arms began to hurt at slicing one too many trees from coming up from the ground, repeatedly. Troubling indeed, my dear Tenten, but so far I don't see him with the peculiar intent in this fight. Neji looked at the enemy and focused on his Byakugan. It was curious why he simply appeared out of the blue to stop us from escorting the cage back. Very good, Leaf Ninja. Though, that won't do you all any good. The different voices that came from the enemy startled them, as soon as the speed in which the tree branches quadrupled. All of the members of Guy's team had to release their most treasured techniques to deal with multiple opponents at once. Neji focused on Hake Hyaku Nuhachisho, 8 trigrams, 128 palms. Tenten released her twin rising dragon scrolls up in the air and let the projectiles rain, both skewering the never-ending tree branches. Thousands of tiny tree debris sprawled around the desert as Neji and Tenten tore up the tree branches with reckless abandon. Still, it wasn't enough as the tree branches just kept on coming, until eventually both Neji and Tenten got trapped by them and couldn't get out. Lee and Guy had come up and saved them, but the branches focused on them, this time. Guy-sensei. Guy turned to see Lee's concern for Neji and Tenten. The branches had hurt Tenten badly and she was bleeding in some areas. Neji appeared to be losing consciousness fast. Let's do it. Lee, sensei and pupil lined up next to each other in similar poses and screamed in perfect synchronicity. Hachiman Tonko Kai, 8 inner gates open. With Naruto . Sasori looked in complete puzzlement, wondering what happened while the cage puppet was turned to spare parts by the little girl's fist. Despite being severely annoyed at the amount of puppetry ruined, especially his most prized possession, the Akatsuki puppeteer was now more focused in understanding what happened. As soon as he used the iron sand to fill the entire cave with spikes, the little girl and the Jinchuriki got enveloped by a rather useless Doten defense that frankly couldn't do much against the iron sand spikes. Even if his sight was tempered by the earth technique, the ball of earth was pierced in so many places that he doubted that either of them managed to escape from being hit and then poisoned. When the earth technique stopped working and the girl appeared on the ground, Sasori urged the puppet to attack and kill her. Not willing to wait for the poison to take effect, Sasori then remembered feeling his chakra invaded for a brief period. Being as experienced as he was, he knew the feeling of being under the effect of an illusion, however Chiyo just couldn't use it on him. She was using the chakra threads to control her puppets. Sasori tisked in surprise as he eyed the smirking Jinchuriki eyeing him, waiting for the puppeteer to realize that he was the one who casted the genjutsu technique. Sasori couldn't know right now if he was impressed or enraged. For a Jinchuriki to be able to use illusion techniques, it is unheard of, considering the amount of chakra they possess. Furthermore, to catch him in an illusion was so far-fetched that he had never considered the possibility of someone attempting such a thing. Still, Sasori should have considered the possibility once he saw the earth technique dissipating. Back then, the Jinchuriki was nowhere to be seen. However, he was far too engrossed in killing the girl, that he ended up focusing on the girl on the ground. Sasori also eyed Chiyo to see her reaction, only to see equal surprise, meaning that the Jinchuriki had ensnared her as well. I was under the impression that Itachi was the only one in Konoha capable of producing a powerful genjutsu, but here I stand corrected. Naruto smirked at the compliment. It takes a genjutsu specialist, sometimes, to memorize the scenery repeatedly, even in the midst of a fight. You were so caught up with Sakura on the ground, that you decided to take the initiative. It was only a matter of casting a wide area disorienting genjutsu around myself and then at you, Sasori. Since you were focused on controlling the puppet, you didn't seem to notice the genjutsu until it was too late. Sasori just listened to the explanation, not saying anything for a while. He realized all of that without it needing to be explained. What his focus now was to see the wounds on the little girl's arms. Chiyo was focusing on that as well. Sakura, you got hit by the iron sand, how come you're moving freely? Sasori was about to ask the same question. The pink-haired medic nin just smirked and showed Chiyo the antidote device in her hand. After treating Konkuro, I worked on coming up with an antidote for the poison, Chiyo Basama. I knew we would be facing him, so I had made some in advance. Now, this got Sasori's interest, even more than being caught in an illusion. He has been perfecting his poison for years now and so far, no one ever came close to coming up with an antidote, much less someone who had so little time to do so. Sasori's mind worked diligently to try and understand just where this girl came from. To be able to come up with an antidote for his poison was something not even Orochimaru was able to do, and the Snake Sanin had ample time and a full-scale laboratory to run tests and diagnostics. This girl, this teenage girl, for her turn, had nothing, and still managed to synthesize a suitable antidote. Sasori had released an annoyed snarl at this fight. Almost everything he set his mind to do was being ruined one by one. It has been a long time since he had to resort to using himself to fight, however, this will have to do for now. He can worry about finding replacements for his collection later. It's been ages since I used myself in a battle, I don't even know how long ago that was, even before I had joined Akatsuki. Sasori said as he slowly removed his robe, revealing his body, the same body of a puppet for that matter. It was right there that Naruto was able to pinpoint exactly where he was sensing the chakra output, a seal located on the puppet's right chest area. Chiyo for her part narrowed her eyes upon seeing it as well. She took a nice breath this time, realizing that the enemy had finally shown himself, meaning that the end of this battle was near. If you're not going to attack me, then allow me to begin, Sasori expressed, before extending his puppet arms, before two gauntlets appeared from his hand. A huge torrent of fire erupted from both hands, forcing them to evade. They attempted to hide behind the rocks of the cave, but the fire proved too much for the rocks to handle, forcing them to jump towards other rocks, but to no avail. The fire was so strong that the rock began to melt immediately upon contact. The flamethrowers lasted for a good while, until the first of the 4 scrolls on Sasori's back were all but extinguished. The puppet, however, merely smirked as he saw the rocks scorching from his attack. Now, it was time for the opposite element. Aren't you going to attack? Huh. No matter. Using the second scroll on his back, the gauntlets began to spill a concentrated jet of water that upon contact with the scorching rock, wasn't able to hold the impact. Sasori had even thinned the water jet so much that it threatened to slice a human being in half or at least lose a limb of 2. Still, the amount of water wasn't eternal and Naruto could feel the lack of chakra in this stream of water, meaning that this was not ninjutsu. When the second scroll vanished from Sasori's back, Naruto and Sakura took the opportunity to advance on the puppet. Sasori this time targeted the Jinchuriki with a rope that seemed to come out of his stomach with a metal hook in the front. Like every weapon in his arsenal, this was drenched with the man's poison. Naruto didn't allow any room for risk this time and pumped enough chakra on his feet to become a blur in motion. His sword became alive with wind chakra and Sasori's metal rope was thinly sliced in equal pieces, before falling neatly on the ground. Sasori took a step back this time, having to create distance from the fast Jinchuriki. A puppeteer always preferred long-range assault, no matter if he was a novice or a senior. As such, he released the third scroll on his back and from the gauntlet in his palms, black smoke erupted from them, no doubt poisoned just as much. Naruto-senpai, stay back. Sakura screamed for him to avoid the smoke and Naruto looked backwards, before using a shunshin to appear by Sakura's side. Sasori stood now within a reasonable distance from the lot as he observed his opposition. Right now, only 1 scroll remained on his back and the red scorpion couldn't help but curse himself for falling so low, to lose this much to a bunch of children. Truly, I am appalled at myself. How long am I going to have to fight against 2 children and an old hag? I never thought I would have to bring out my final device. Naruto, Sakura and Chio all observed as the last scroll left Sasori's back and opened up, before many blurs left from within the scroll. The joint Konoha and Suna team all watched speechless as the never-ending army of puppets just kept appearing, once again hiding the sun from them. Each one of them carried weapons of different sizes and some even had chakra swords to use at will. The cave was filled with puppet-like noises and the air became filled with wooden joints and the stench of Sasori's poison. Akahigi. Hyaki no Suin, secret red move. Performance of 100 puppets, I'll show you all. Chio observed as Sasori opened up a slot from his puppet body, before many chakra threads erupted from it to link himself to the 100 puppets. The elder puppeteer took a long breath, understanding that the big guns are now needed in this fight. Reaching to her back pouch, Chio reached for what appeared to be a blue scroll. It seems I shall have to use the one jutsu I had sealed myself. Truly, I didn't think I would have to use this again, but in life we seldom get what we wish for. Chio lamented as she slowly unrolled the scroll. When she opened the scroll, 10 similar-looking kanji appeared within a white canvas with small blue clouds. From each kanji, a different puppet emerged from it, all of them dressed in white and with different weapons to fight. Oh, I am quite honored, Chio Basama. It is said that the skill of a puppeteer is measured by the number of puppets one can control at the same time. So, that's the Shirohige. Jiki Chikamatsu no Shu, White Secret Technique. The Chikamatsu collection of 10 puppets I had heard so much about. The one you used to take over a castle, wasn't it? Chio was less than amused by his grandson, however. Don't patronize me, Sasori, I had raised you better than that. Sakura and Naruto ran back to where the white puppets were. This battle had just become much more intense, as Sakura adjusted her black gloves, while Naruto squeezed the hold he had on his sword. With Kakashi . It seemed like forever since Pakun had left Suna towards the cave where he first sensed the presence of Akatsuki. However, now that he arrived, the dog's sweat dropped at the amount of chakra lingering in the air, as well as the amount of destruction. However, now just wasn't the time to wonder about it. He had a directive to follow. As such, joining his little paws together and focusing on the contract he had with Kakashi, Pakun then placed one of the paws on the ground, before a web of kanji spread. Gyuku Kuchio's no Jutsu, reverse summoning technique. One Hitaki Kakashi appeared from the kanji that Pakun used. Kakashi immediately looked around and witnessed the level of destruction and chakra in the air. The tiny earthquakes were also proof of the gigantic fight. Much appreciated, my friend. I just hope to arrive in time, before the worst happens. Pakun just saluted his summoner, before vanishing back to wherever it is that he comes from. Quickly jumping towards what was left of the cave entrance, Kakashi soon found a suitable pile of rock to hide himself in order to check his surroundings and see just how the fight was going. And what he saw was truly mind-blowing to say the least. Instead of 4 people fighting, there were hundreds, many of them puppets from the looks of things. Naruto and Sakura were dodging, evading, punching, and slashing the many puppets that were linked to a redhead that happened to look like a puppet just as much as the others. Chio was also coordinating her own batch of puppets, from the looks of things. Right now, the Scarecrow Jonin considered that openly joining the fray would simply ruin the element of surprise that he still had. From looks alone, it appeared that Naruto, Sakura and Chio were handling the situation, diminishing the number of puppets one by one, until only a precious few remained. Opening up his Sharingan, Kakashi began to study the opponent more closely, trying to find a suitable venue to exploit. The color of Sasori's chakra became clear as day for Obito's eye to spot the main puppet's weakness. Like Naruto, Kakashi couldn't see any tenketsu or chakra pathways throughout the puppet's body. Rather, the Sharingan showed him the only place in Sasori's body where chakra could be found, located in his right chest, where the heart would be in a normal person. Kakashi then covered his Sharingan eye, realizing that the target was set for him to exploit. He had to move fast, precise and without alerting the enemy of his presence. The number of puppets were down to a bare minimum right now as Kakashi saw Chio's puppet form a pyramid of sorts, before activating a sort of vacuum technique that would attract many of Sasori's puppets. He could even see Naruto taking advantage of the wind force generated by Chio's attack to carve multiple wind blades against the other bunch. The Scarecrow Junin thought he was hallucinating, but he had caught a glimpse of pure enjoyment coming from Naruto's face, as if facing S-rank monsters was anything of the sort. First his technique against Deidara and now against Sasori. To think that just 3 years ago, he was a mere genin, on his first Chunin exams. Quickly going behind Sasori, Kakashi went through quick hand seals to form his Reikiri. The puppet even caught up with the movement behind him, but he wasn't fast enough, as Kakashi's electrified hand pierced through Sasori's core. What? He looked down to see the electrified hand piercing his core, before he turned to see a Sharingan eye looking back at him. Kakashi-sensei. Sakura stopped the fight against the puppets, as she eyed the Scarecrow Jonin appear all of a sudden. Hi there, Sakura. I didn't take too long to come back, now did I? Kakashi's eyes then zeroed on Naruto's eyes and wasn't surprised to see the lack of surprise in his eyes at his sudden appearance. He is a censor, after all. Hitaki Kakashi. So Deidara had failed me in the end. I actually don't know about his status to be frank, he may be quite injured somewhere else. Now, I take it that I have hit a vital spot, huh? Sasori's mouth began to bleed profusely as his head began to turn slightly like a broken puppet. He turned to see the Jinchuriki, then the annoying little girl, finishing on his grandmother. In the end, he couldn't live to see her death with his own eyes. It was quite unfortunate. Indeed, it was also unfortunate that his life ended today. Everything he did was to become no more than a puppet. A human being has a short lifespan. A human has to deal with emotions throughout his life. A human has to overcome adversities. A puppet, on the other hand, has none of these issues. A puppet can be everlasting, a true art that transcends everything and everyone. Though, if it was any consolation, at least he could take one last memory with him to the afterlife, to see the look of complete sadness in his grandmother's eyes. Then, like a clock that stops working slowly, Sasori's eyes slowly left its sockets. With Guy's team . Not knowing what happened to the other Akatsuki, Guy had released his inner gates as soon as he saw the enemy going back below ground. He took his time setting back his heart rate and breathing back to normal, while looking around for his team. A greatly injured Tenten was attending to an unconscious Neji, while Lee was covering for her. Lee had also to use the inner gates to swipe the tree branches that would surge from the ground to skewer them. Neji's Byakugan would serve that purpose, but he had overused them when the team was securing the Cage's escape prior. Guy was hoping that Kakashi's team had managed to defeat the other Akatsuki member, because unfortunately, he as the team captain, had to scout his team back to Suna for treatment. With Gaara . Once everything settled in, Sabaku no Gaara was heavily asleep inside a hospital room, completely wiped out. It was curious in a way that sleep has eluded the young Kazekage for quite some time, only when he is unconscious and almost completely chakra depleted, that he could get some shut-eye. Naruto and Kakashi had managed to bring him back in time, allowing for the hospital staff to at least take him away from the lights so to speak. With enough chakra infusion to last a couple of days, his body could do the rest and restore his chakra capacity to normal levels. The one-tailed demon was almost completely extracted and it will take some time for it to gain back what it had lost. Which for Gaara, worked wonders. One of the reasons Gaara could never fall asleep was because Shukaku would take over. With the beast depleted just as the host, it turned out to be quite a blessing for the Kazekage. The scorching sunlight came crashing from the hospital room and bathed his entire body. This was the scene that he focused on, as soon as his eyes slowly opened. Blinking once and then twice, Sabaku no Gaara had not the faintest idea of what was going on. His body felt heavy and he was feeling drowsy for some reason. It was such an alien feeling for him that it slightly alarmed the redhead, if it weren't for the fact that his memory seemed to jumpstart and bombard him with the fact that he was fighting the members of Akatsuki and was then captured by them. Getting up slowly and taking a look at his hand, the Kazekage wondered what happened. He knew that the village wouldn't do much to help him, save from a precious few that wouldn't be able to engage against the likes of Akatsuki. Gaara tried to feel for his chakra and that alone forced his body to ache all over, making him cough repeatedly. Temari had heard the noise and barged inside the room immediately. Gaara, you're awake. I'm glad you're okay. She offered him a glass of water as she screamed for the hospital staff to come. Mari, how am I've. His throat hurt just to speak a couple of words. The blonde sister approached and helped him take a seat. It pained her greatly to hear those words from her baby brother. Once Akatsuki came and captured you, we had no choice but to call upon Konoha for help. His eyes widened at the news, while Temari continued. Yeah, the Hokage had sent 2 powerful teams too, 4 Jonin and 3 Chunin for that matter. I see. Suna and Konoha were allies, sure, but Gaara knew enough about how badly Suna had treated Konoha, to realize that the hidden village in the leaves wouldn't consider disposing of such a list of assets to help a village who had invaded them before. In fact, one of the Jonin happens to be Uzumaki Naruto, the one who beat you in the Chunin exams. He was the one who carried you all the way back. He was quite amazing, actually. Gaara remembered the day when they fought at the Chunin exams, how Uzumaki Naruto had blasted him towards the wall, even though he was using his sand cocoon technique to shield him from outside attacks. So, he was the one who rescued him, in the end. Ever since that fight, something shifted in Gaara's mind. He always searched for strong fighters to kill, but Naruto, he was the first one who managed to defeat Gaara. All of the others ended up perishing in his sand, but not him. It made Gaara curious to understand, to know more about him. Is he still here? I wanted to talk to him. Temari looked surprised at the request. Oh, I do believe they have not left yet. I can call him here, if that's what you wish. The Kazekage merely nodded and his sister left him alone in the room to go search for Naruto. She remembered that Sakura got pretty injured from the fight and Naruto was staying in her room to keep her company. Quickly opening Sakura's room, Temari was surprised to see not only Naruto there with her, but Chio Basama as well. Ah, Temari-san, how is the Kazekage doing? Is he awake? The blonde Jonin turned to Naruto, who was sitting on the far side wall of the bed that Sakura was lying on. Yes, actually, he had just woken up. He wished to talk to you, Naruto. Naruto blinked a couple of times, wondering what the Kazekage wanted to talk to him about. Really? Well, okay, I can go. Ah, Sakura, I will be right back. The pink-haired Chunin waved him back, before talking to Chio once more. 2 minutes later, Naruto had entered Gaara's room and took a seat in front of his bed. Temari had closed the door to leave them alone as per Gaara's request. Temari said, "You wished to speak to me, Kazekage-sama." Gaara frowned at the name calling and Naruto felt the same, however, he didn't know what else to call the person in front of him. "Why did you save me?" Naruto's eyebrow lifted in wonder at the blunt question. "It was my mission. Why else?" "Mission." Gaara's face was stone and Naruto wondered what other reason he needed to say. "Yes, why? A mission would indeed require you to complete it. Sure, but a mission wouldn't require you to go any step beyond what would be reasonable for a foreign shinobi to rescue a Kage from another village, no less. Especially from a village that 3 years ago had invaded yours and caused the death of many Konoha shinobi. So, that being said, I ask again, why did you save me?" Naruto crossed his arms and began to extend his chakra perception. As per the evidence, Gaara's chakra was bearing minimal capacity, but it wasn't the same as the time where they fought. He could also feel the beast's chakra regenerating slowly. But what he wanted to perceive was the Kazecage's emotions. When they first met, the man behaved like a lunatic, now he stood there composed and stoic even, could it be mere curiosity? If such, then Naruto could at least humor him, since they happened to share something in common. Well, it was still my mission to perform and I happened to take them quite seriously, even if it involves a different village. Gaara stood waiting and Naruto took a deep breath, wondering if he should get into this particular topic. "But, I suppose that my drive to save you has something to do with the beast you carry. Despite the fact that we don't know much about the other and this happens to be the first time you talk to me without wanting to kill me, we do have something in common as I happen to be one as well, a Jinchuriki." "I know." Naruto looked at the man in surprise, but then it clicked. How? Oh, I get it. You're the Kazekage, so you're privy to that information. Gaara nodded at the presumption. "Is it because we're fellow Jinchuriki, that you went out of your way to rescue me, even though no one would fault you if you opted to play it safe?" Naruto had simply negated his head, already recognizing the patterns of Jinchuriki behavior. The cynicism in which Gaara spoke made Naruto wonder what it was like for him growing up in Suna. "Since we had just met, you have no way of knowing if that's the truth or not, but yes, this organization Akatsuki has no right to do what they are doing to us. The villages had already treated us quite badly and now this comes along." "No, I can see you're telling the truth." Naruto looked at Gaara as he then looked outside. "It's just that I can count on one hand the number of people that would actually go out of their way to save me. Ain't that the truth?" Gaara looked into Naruto's solemn eyes as the Kyuubi Jinchuriki looked down with a solemn smile. "While growing up in Konoha, I actually had only one person to count on, but he was always busy, to be checking up on me, so I was alone for most of my years as a child. It all changed once I met someone who bothered to look at me beyond the creature which I carry and taught me a lot. After that, I managed to find more precious people in my life, comrades to fight side by side with. Even love for that matter." The Kazekage's eyes widened at the word love. The picture of his uncle Yoshimaru came to mind, as the one he most cherished in life. "What is pain?" a chibi Gaara asked his mother's brother Yoshimaru, after squeezing his chest, where his heart was. Yoshimaru had only smiled at his nephew. He knew that Gaara wasn't asking about physical pain. Unlike body injury, there is no medicine for a wounded heart, Gaara. Sometimes, it may never heal, but worry not, Gaara, there is one thing that can mend a broken heart. But it's a very complicated remedy, it could only be given to you by another person. There's only one thing that can heal the heart, only one, love." Oblivious to it all, Naruto suddenly scratched his head in slight embarrassment at what he had said. When she appears in his mind, it brings up a warmth in his chest. "Yeah, well, it's something new actually, but, yes, love. I wouldn't know much about that." Naruto, though, smiled and looked back at his fellow Jinchuriki. "I happen to know that Temari went out of her way to try and convince the village to go save you. She was the one who asked me to bring you back. You may not know love, but I'd like to bet that she holds great love for her baby brother." Gaara stood there, In deep contemplation about the fellow Jinchuriki's words, and Naruto figured that it was high time he had a chat with Kakashi and the others to see when they were scheduled to return. Anyway, Kage-sama, I need to talk with my Jonin captain to see about travel arrangements back to Konoha. You should rest. Gaara looked at Naruto for a while. Yes, perhaps that's for the best. Please notify me when it's time for your departure. I shall meet your team at the gates to thank them as well. Naruto nodded, wondering when Gaara had ever thanked him, but simply nodded and left the room. Back in Konoha. Once both teams returned safely to their home hidden village, it was all a matter of reporting in and then settling down for the day, or rather settling down for at least a week, after the gruesome match to the death against an S-rank missing ninja. Since Suna had taken care of their injuries prior to their returning, there was no need to go to the hospital for treatments, just plain old vacation for a good while, or at least until the next calling arrives. Naruto had excused himself from the rest as soon as the debriefing was finished, heading straight to his former sensei and now hidden girlfriend's house. He prayed that she wasn't on any mission outside the village, since he really wanted to say something very important to her. He had the Nadaime Hokage to thank for in many aspects of his life. All of his foundations had improved, and because of him, he was at least 10 times better a shinobi than he would be, without that fateful day. But in this last assignment, he had used an skill that managed to save Sakura from being killed by Sasori, a skill that without proper guidance and tutoring, he would have never be able to use as effectively as he did back then, capturing an S-ranked shinobi of Sasori's level in a genjutsu. It filled his heart with joy once she opened the door to him and ushered him inside for some breakfast. Half an hour later, after explaining everything that happened, a speechless, wide-eyed and redder than a tomato Yuhi Kurenai stood flabbergasted at what her student, fellow shinobi, hidden lover, potential love interest, wanted to express to her. I really wanted to thank you, sensei. It's been a while since I called you that, but for this time, I think it's appropriate. It was thanks to your teachings in the art of illusions, that I was able to save an important comrade, and I wish to thank you, Kur-chan, from the bottom of my heart for teaching me. Naruto was smiling as he bowed in reverence to Kurenai. The Jonin in question couldn't really keep up with the huge emotions she was feeling right now. A few months back, she was hesitant in going forward with what was blooming between her and Naruto, and Anko came in and helped her see it. Now, she was feeling it. She could feel more warmth inside than she ever remembered feeling before. She really needed to thank Anko for smacking some sense into her, when she next saw her. Naruto was still bowing, when Kurenai approached her lover and gently urged him to stand, by using her hand on his chin. As soon as he did so, blue eyes and red eyes met each other, before Kurenai enveloped him in a strong hug with closed eyes and tears in her eyes, tears of complete joy and love. Thank you, Uzumaki Naruto-kun. Naruto could feel the tears falling on his shoulders and returned the hug, squeezing her as tight as he could, to prove how much this moment meant for them. I was really hoping you didn't have any more plans today, Naruto said when they broke the hug, and Kurenai smiled, already imagining what he could mean by that. Oh, and why is that? I have missed you, and right now, all I could think of was to lie down with you next to me. Kurenai smiled once more at the offer and grabbed his hand to take him straight to her bedroom. After all, she had missed him just as much. I don't think that Anko will take too long to barge in here, once I ditch her for lunch, but you can never know when it comes to Mitarashi Anko. Naruto laughed at that, wondering what the snake Jonin would choose to do this time, when she found out. That's it for this part. If you enjoyed it, then like, share and subscribe for the next video, as it's going to be more interesting, and also check out my other playlists. Hope you would like them too.